myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha, making America healthy again starts with Virago.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove. And Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company.
It's May 1st, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. May 1st is better known as Mayday. Over the years, Mayday has taken on many meanings, from ancient religious celebrations to the more modern interpretation as International Workers' Day. Also on this date, in 1920, George Herman Ruth, better known as Babe to baseball fans everywhere, hit his first career home run for the New York Yankees against who else but the team that would go on to be their longtime arch rivals, the Boston Red Sox. The animated children's series about a sponge and his friends that live in a pineapple under the sea.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants debuted in 1999. If it's your birthday today, you share it with famed frontierswoman and sharpshooter Martha Jane Cannery, better known as Calamity Jane, born in 1852. I'm Tushar Saxena with your Fox Daily Snapshot.
This Mother's Day, treat the mom in your life to a day she'll never forget with brunch at the Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago. Brunch reservations are available now for Sunday, May 11th, with seatings from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Grand Ballroom. Experience an exquisite meal in a buffet style. Feast at the decadent carving, seafood, and dessert stations. Enjoy drink specials, live entertainment, complimentary champagne, and a beautiful rose garden backdrop for memorable photos. There's no better place to celebrate this Mother's Day than as guests of Trump Chicago, where you'll find the most iconic views of the Chicago skyline. Delight in this one-of-a-kind extravaganza. Make your reservations today by visiting eventbrite.com and search Mother's Day Brunch, Trump Chicago. That's Eventbrite. Search Mother's Day Brunch, Trump Chicago, and order your tickets today. Cheers.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest-to-reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
FestGen Wealth Partners knows you're feeling the pinch of rising cost of living, and you are not alone. Potentially maximize your savings and get the guidance you need through times of uncertainty with a team at FestGen Wealth Partners. Get started at GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through FestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and FestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. FestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Dan Proft here. You've heard our partnership with Caring Network over the last several weeks and their Reach Her First initiative. They're making a lot of progress thanks to your support as they're tirelessly working to prevent abortions here in Chicago by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But we still need approximately 40 more one-time donations of $150 to hit our goal. Please consider helping Caring Network of Illinois with your one-time donation of $150 by visiting 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring. Our goal is to help 500 women in total by Mother's Day, and we're so close. These are women who are considering abortion. And we want to provide services like telehealth counseling with a nurse, or an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby in an ultrasound. To learn more and make your donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products. Turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
Are you looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground burial and cremation options. This serene space is surrounded by meticulously maintained landscaping and beautiful trees. With limited space available in our mausoleum, now's the time to plan ahead. Reserve your family's place today with prices starting around $7,000. And for a limited time, take advantage of a $500 discount when you pre-purchase a crypt. To learn more or secure your spot, visit fairview-memorialpark.com. That's fairview-memorialpark.com. Or stop by Fairview Memorial Park at 900 North Wolf Road in North Lake. Fairview Memorial Park. Peacefully beautiful.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Now, your official weather forecast.
A bit of rain to start things off today. Clouds, a thunderstorm, and a high today 66. Cloudy thunderstorm in spots tonight, low 48. A couple of brief showers tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy, chilly day on Saturday, high 54. I'm Steve Williams, I am 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Boy, the D.C. press corps just never seems to pick up the approach that Trump takes to them. It's really stunning how slow they are at learning, how slow they are on the uptake. I guess it's because they just sort of talk to one another, and so nobody comes up with any sort of unique insights to say, maybe we should take another angle on this, because we're sort of embarrassing ourselves, as Terry Moran from ABC did in his sit-down with the president. I mean, there's a particular indictment of Terry Moran as just an example, the latest example in the litany of D.C. press corps types who have interviewed the president. And it almost always goes to the same place when it becomes antagonistic, as it did right out of the gate with Terry Moran. And of course, Trump was very willing to begin the mocking in earnest.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Off and running.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line. I was really surprised he didn't pick Lindsey Davis or David Muir. Remember Lindsey Davis from the debates?
What's the difference?
I'm just being facetious because, they're the main anchors, and Terry Moran is kind of, I think, on the way out at ABC, but what do I know? He had his lipstick on, Dan. He was ready to go.
Then they have this exchange over Abrego Garcia, and just going back and forth for a minute and a half about the tattoo on his knuckles and whether it did or did not signify his membership in MS-13. It went something like this.
Murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it. By law. And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry. Terry.
He did not have the letter MS13.
It says MS13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry. Hey, but you're not being very nice. He had MS13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't
Take a look
there,
at the
but they're
photograph.
there now, right?
No,
but they're
they're in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
I just don't understand. Well, really, both sides of that was painful to listen to, but particularly Terry Moran. Here's the point of being a journalist or an interviewer. It's completely lost on these people, or they're just so bad at it that they're unable to accomplish the singular task of being an interviewer. What is the singular task of interviewing somebody? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro.
That's a very simplistic question. I mean, you want to know what their policies are if you're interviewing a politician. Anybody.
Yeah.
You want to hear from them. It's about them. You want to know what they're doing, why they're doing it, what's going on, what's next.
You want to reveal something about the subject that is either interesting or particularly meaningful to your life in the case of a policymaker. And the only thing that the interviewers like Terry Moran reveal when they interview Donald Trump is how stilted, unfair, uninformed, uninterested, and untalented they are. They reveal nothing about Trump.
No, they reveal about themselves.
This is why Trump does these things. I mean, these are WWE type interviews. Terry Moran is there to check boxes for his employer and his colleagues inside the Beltway, and the subset of people in this country that hate Trump and will just side with whoever even gives the appearance of challenging him at any given moment. That's his audience. But in terms of adding any value to the discussion, they're so high-minded when it comes to their reverence for themselves.
Right.
It's all about, I have these wonderful aspirations. I take my job very seriously. This is important. I'm humble about it. Not really. I'm grateful for the opportunity, but not really. And then they really just act in service of narrow interests.
Here's one great example, Dan. He's talking to him about deportations, and Terry Moran said, "You haven't deported Americans yet." And he said that, and then Trump didn't pick up on it, but I did, and I thought, did he just say he hasn't deported Americans yet? And that's what he said, because that was his whole thing. Make Trump look bad, try and make him look like the boogeyman again, and make yourself look high and mighty, which you are not.
Now, the only thing
Please get over yourselves.
The only thing I would say with respect to Trump is you could add more value in those exchanges too.
Okay.
You could. I mean, you're serving the interests of people that have come to rightfully distrust the D.C. press corps and would like to see the Terry Morans of the world get their comeuppance between the eyes, and that that's a significant constituency, and there's no reason not to serve them by putting it between Terry Moran's eyes on issue after issue. That's fine, but you can do something in addition to that. I mean, the way that you expose and get more revelations about the interviewer to completely flip the script is an exchange like that about the tattoo. Terry, let me explain something to you. Rather than arguing about the tattoo, The tattoo had the symbol. There were symbols on his fingers that are commonly associated with MS-13 members. Now, the White House put MS-13 in Calibri font to point out what each of the images represents as MS-13. But here's the point, Terry. This isn't just about a tattoo. It's just the fact that he was announcing it with a tattoo. But guess who else was announcing that he was an MS-13 member? Local sheriffs in Maryland. Judges. So, Terry, do you just dismiss what law enforcement and the criminal justice system has had to say about Abrego Garcia as well? Should we not trust the local sheriffs and the judges too? You act like this is open to interpretation and this is, a dispute that hasn't been resolved. The processing amount of this country, we can have a conversation about. But in terms of his affiliation with MS-13, the manifest weight of the evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt standard. And if you can't admit that, then I just want you to not admit it to the entire world. If you want to dispute all of these parties that have presented evidence to support the claim that he was affiliated with MS-13, then dispute it publicly, so that you can show the depths to which you will sink to run interference for the cause celebs of my political opponents, of which you are one. And bring in the additional evidence. It's not. This doesn't all turn on a tattoo. That's what the D.C. press corps wants you. Oh, it's a tattoo, and now and then they run with that, and we're just deporting people based on what they look like, or if they have a tattoo that looks like a gang symbol. That is not what's happening at all. No. It didn't happen in the Abrego Garcia case, and it's not happening in other cases. And that's what Moran was trying to insinuate. And then and then run away. Now I want to talk about Ukraine. Now that I've dunked that particular ball, I want to go run and talk about Ukraine. I mean, Trump was right to hold him up, but bring in the rest of the evidence. It makes him for a more persuasive case. Ed in Des Plaines.
Dan and Amy, I don't even know why you let me on the air, but I got to tell you, never in my life would I say I'm even hold a candle to Trump's intelligence, but what I love is what he says. I'm 64 years old, and I'm like, I've been waiting for. It's like me being president when he talks back to the press. I'm like, just like, he has the ball. Excuse me. He has the nerve to say what he wants. I'm like, this is the stuff I've been screaming at the television for 40 years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's actually saying it. He's actually doing it. He's actually saying what I've wanted to say. It's like me being president again, not like I don't have his intelligence or his wherewithal, whatever. But it's just it's absolutely delicious to watch.
Yeah, for the comeuppance. I get it. I get it. But there's just more upside for Trump than that. And also, too, sometimes he can overextend himself in trying to use these opportunities to continue to reveal to the country what most of the press corps really is, and advance sort of his brand in so doing. I'll give you an example. This interview that he decided to do with The Atlantic. Mm-hmm. The Atlantic, like as in Jeffrey Goldberg.
Right.
He did this interview with Ashley Park and Michael Scheer, who and Trump plays this game, too. He slimes reporters, mocks them to their face or on social media, and then he turns around and he'll sit down with them, which is fine because it shows like, look, I'll say to you what I face-to-face, what I said to you on social media. I'm willing to talk to anybody, so you can't say I'm inaccessible. I'm unwilling to intake criticism and respond to it, because he does it all the time, and that's to his credit. But then he gets with people that you know are your adversaries, and he says statements like, "I run the country and the world," which is the headline in the Atlantic interview of him. And the Atlantic interview is, of course, what you would expect. It is dominated by J. Sixth and dominated by quote-unquote fact-checking of Trump. But even just that takeaway, that's not the maybe this is the headline he wanted. But I mean, if you're a PR political impresario, you're always thinking about what is the headline, what's the lead of the story that I want coming out of this interview, and you really want it to be I run the country and the world. I mean, that plays sort of right into the misplaced but politically potentially potent branding of Trump by his political adversaries as, authoritarian or having authoritarian tendencies, and they will run with that. It won't be enough, but it seems to me unhelpful to make those sorts of statements that provide that fodder. So
similar to him saying, or Steve Bannon saying, he's going to run for a third term. He will be president for a third term.
Yes.
We're going to bypass the Constitution or amend the Constitution. I mean, he's holding up on Bill Maher, and you're like, is he being just trolling, or is this for real?
Yeah, I mean, you would be hard pressed to say that Trump and some people around him are the most disciplined communicators the world has ever seen. And so, they need to remember, too, what is it I want to get out of this? I'm doing this for a reason. So what is it I want to get out of it? What is it that I want to reveal about my political adversary pretending to be a journalist, or to the actually interested and good faith public in terms of what I want them to understand about what I'm doing, or where things are going, or how I'm going to tackle these adversaries in furtherance of their interests? I run the country and the world is not the way to do that, in my view.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer
at 5:38, go to Larry Kudlow. He had a good riff on the GDP number yesterday in terms of understanding what it is and what it isn't, and speaking of where we're going, where we might be going economically in the last 3 quarters of the year. That's at 5:38.
And later, Dan, who's your permission structure? We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 55 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Vice President J.D. Vance is casting the tie-breaking vote to kill the Senate resolution that would undo President Trump's trade policy. The Senate on Wednesday rejected a resolution that would have revoked Trump's emergency order allowing him to impose global tariffs. The vote was tied 49-49. Senate Majority Leader John Thune then moved to ensure that tariff operations would not be able to challenge Trump's emergency power in a later date, forcing the vice president to appear in the Senate to cast the deciding vote. Visas for 10 current and former University of Chicago students are now reactivated. The visas were previously revoked earlier this month as part of the Trump administration's crackdown on foreign students. Hundreds of students around the country were placed in a similar situation. The Trump administration unexpectedly changed course Friday when the Justice Department announced more than 4,700 students would have their visas reinstated. This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push to talk walkie-talkies, offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
Come hungry to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's, benefiting the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Join us Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street and use the cashier code Portillos20. The night's bill is on Scott Tucker, and you eating free Portillo's helps support the families of fallen and disabled Chicago police officers and their families via the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Enjoy your favorites, hot dogs, Italian beef, and chocolate cake. Scott Tucker is picking up the a check. And Portillo's is donating 20% of gross sales to the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. So bring your appetite to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's. It's Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street. And make sure to use the cashier code Portillo's20. Eat well and come out and run up Scott Tucker's bill and support the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. We'll see you there. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox to keep you healthy and feeling your best. Find Active Liver at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Starting off with some rain this morning. Cloudy, thunderstorm for the afternoon. A high today at 66. Cloudy tonight. Thunderstorm in a couple of different spots, low 48. Brief shower or two tomorrow morning. Otherwise clouds, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Larry Kudlow's reaction to the GDP report yesterday of a contraction by 0.3 of a percentage point was an interesting one. He agreed with many, including Carol Roth, we spoke with yesterday, that part of what that number represented was front-running the tariffs. And that's that distortion. But for that distortion, we would have seen a positive GDP number. But he dug into the numbers a little bit more deeply than we had time to do yesterday. That's his bailiwick, so it makes perfect sense. There's more to it than just front-running tariffs in terms of looking at what business activity actually is, where business activity really is, private sector business activity. And there's another front-running that businesses may have been doing in Q1. I'll let Larry explain.
The liberal media and their pals on Wall Street are talking about recession because the first quarter GDP was scored with a slight decline of 0.3%. And those afflicted with the disease of Trump derangement syndrome are now talking about recession in the second quarter. But if you look under the hood of this GDP report and you carefully parse through the numbers, what you actually come up with is a rather strong economy that's growing at something around 3%. That's right, 3%. Now, Mr. Trump has barely begun, but core GDP in Q1, which takes out the fluky trade import numbers from the tariff front-running, so the heart of GDP, which is private sector consumption plus private sector business investment. Well, you see an actual increase in the first quarter of, wait for it, 3%. And then, if you look deeper into the numbers, you find even better news. Private business investment is up while government spending is down. That's right. Business fixed investment increased nearly 10% at an annual rate in Q1. And even better, business equipment and machinery, which is an incredibly important harbinger of productivity, of job increases and real wage hikes. That rose an incredible 22.5%. There's no recession there. For the entire GDP report, 22.5% is probably the single most important number. No recession.
And that level of business investment, those two numbers that Kudlow just referenced, that was because businesses were front-running something else, in part.
President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill will pass both houses of Congress, probably around the July 4th holiday. It's just a couple months away. Mr. Trump has said repeatedly that he will give business investment a 100% immediate expensing write-off. Immediate expensing write-off. Plus, he will provide factory investment and building the same 100% immediate depreciation. Plus, he has said that all this will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And let's not forget, the corporate tax rate for Made in America goods would drop from 21% to 15%. So what's actually happening is that businesses are front-running the big, beautiful tax cut that will be coming their way.
And if he's right, and if there's continued spending reductions associated with that, then even if you have some negative impacts of tariffs for trade deals that have yet to be consummated, for example, the American economy can overcome those things and still grow at a good pace.
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. We also have our text line up and running.
The problem is
patience.
And by the way, per the Trump televised cabinet meeting yesterday, Jameson Greer, the U.S. trade rep, had this to say.
They all want to negotiate. They want to make a deal.
Don't zoom in on this. This is like a tracker, right? We have all these columns of which countries have come in, when we started negotiations, who gave us an offer, are we in technical talks, and when do we expect to have deals done? Those are some weeks out, but we're working very quickly on this. Thanks to you.
Some weeks out, but we're working very quickly.
Yeah, and he was paging through a spreadsheet that provided the progress that he was describing, where he said there are written proposals from a number of countries, and we're down the road further with some than others, as you would expect. But if some deals made with significant trading partners do transpire in the next few weeks, several weeks, running concurrent with this need to move the the big beautiful tax and spend bill, then okay. Then maybe we're starting to cook with some fire here. Problem is, as Kim Strassel points out again, is that you have Republicans that don't want to cut spending. That's the big problem. And Trump may have to spend some political capital calling out some specific Republicans to help Mike Johnson in particular, but perhaps Thune as well. There's a lot of big spending Republicans in the Senate. Help them whip the votes necessary. For example, Strassel, writing in the Journal, the GOP can at least agree that Joe Biden's green energy handouts, the architecture of the left's Green New Deal, are wasteful and distortionary, right? Nope. Just ask the 21 House Republicans led by New York's Andrew Garbarino, whose districts are raking in the cash, and who recently wrote a letter to House Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith demanding the party retain hundreds of billions of dollars of green tax credits. The move drew praise from groups like the Citizens Climate Lobby. Yeah, bunch of radical environmentalist rent seekers. Wonderful. Medicaid fraud, meta-fraud. Medicaid outlays have increased by 51% in the last 6 years, and the program is outpacing even Social Security and Medicare, pumped up by state scams, by narrow waivers, and the program's expansion to populations it was never meant to cover. You can see Illinois for a description or for a case study in what Strassel is describing. Yet Republicans are balking at any reforms. A Politico story quotes one anonymous Republican claiming GOP leadership hasn't yet adequately laid out the rationale behind Medicaid cuts. And yet Kim Strassel laid it out in one sentence. The GOP is scared even to follow Trump's embrace of ridding the program of simple waste and fraud. 12 Republicans recently sent a letter to House leadership setting red lines on what they'd cut. On SNAP, supplemental nutrition assistance programs, food stamps. Ditto, a lack of spine to truly tighten the SNAP work requirements or make changes to the state formula or program rules. Chips and roads. Trump used his address in Congress to excoriate its 2022 $280 billion semiconductor subsidy fest, yet Congress seems already to have rejected any effort to pare that back. Sidelining Doge. The Trump administration will soon unveil its fiscal 2026 budget, in which it's expected to formalize many of the cuts and changes identified by Doge. But nearly every item on the chopping block has a few GOP defenders, and already members are rushing to protect specific grants and programs that feed money to their states, businesses, or other institutions. Just so typical. And this is in part what Trump inherited. This is in part the swamp that has to be drained. Strassel also offers this. A reality of today's Republican Party, nothing happens unless President Trump drives it. Yeah, while the president pays lip service to spending reduction and says he remains open to cuts, he's failed to use the power of his office to make addressing deficits, a priority. Ditto for Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority John Thune. So the question isn't, does anybody want cuts? The question is, are there enough people who want to substantially reduce the size and expense of the federal government and further unleash the private sector in so doing? Or are they going to be content to provide, to extend the tax relief with the add-ons that were promised during the campaign, to continue the deregulation and hope that that's enough to grow the economy at a reasonable pace such that the American people will be content, even as we fail to address the spend side and thus fail to really drain the swamp and thus fail to really move our books down the road to balancing. That's the choice. And Trump and his top deputies, I'm talking about Speaker Johnson and Majority Leader Thune, we're going to see. We're going to see in short order.
So, a quick question for you, Dan. Do you think Trump should be blaming Biden for bad GDP numbers?
Yeah, I mean,
or was that just a knee-jerk reaction, or was he trying to be? I mean, this happened during his 2-hour cabinet meeting yesterday.
Everybody does the I inherited a mess. Okay. And to some extent, everybody, at least for the last, 100 years, but more along that, I'm trying to think of presidents. I mean, I don't know. Every president, maybe
every politician blames it on the predecessor.
Maybe after Thomas Jefferson has inherited
I was there for
a
that.
mess.
Yeah.
So they inherited a mess. It was true. Number one, that the spending that we're talking about, the inflation that everybody knows, that's related to printing funny money and distributing it, drop shipping it all over the place, like we did during COVID. They just kept it going. Terrible fiscal policies, regulatory policies. So that's true, but, then now you're the president, you own it, and so what are you going to do about it? And there are material things that he is doing about it and aiming to do about it. The question is, will he spend the political capital on the spend side, or any political capital on the spend side, the necessary political capital on the spend side? Does the Republican Party really want to fall down on the job one more time because you couldn't get around the idea that if we're going to be serious about spending reductions and if we're going to fashion ourselves as fiscal conservatives, then we're going to have to give up pet projects in our districts. We can't continue to sell our souls for 30 pieces of silver, from one program or another, because a favored constituency or a politically potent constituency could suffer some short-term setback in terms of the money from the other people's money they've gotten used to. You have to be willing to say no. And most of these politicians prefer just to say yes, make everybody happy by distributing other people's money, crowd out their political opposition, and provide a glide path for their reelection. That's what they actually care about, most of them. Tony in Downers Grove.
Okay, everybody who thought there was going to be a positive GDP when everybody's been hammering the tariffs for the last 90 days raised their hand. Well, only the people that predict it, right? And so then what happens? Everybody runs, and now we're going to hammer how there's going to be a recession. So, Dan, the problem is, and this is about process too, the problem is Ro Khanna gets on Fox yesterday and starts talking gibberish about what the Republicans aren't doing, and he gets called out on it, but he still goes with it. Now you have Carol Roth, who made some good points, and she talks about surgically making the tariffs work. Okay, and how does this tie into process? Because you have to expect the Republicans to carry it through. And you always have someone like a Rand Paul or other Republicans who are going to bail. And I'll tie this into, and I wanted to bring this up with you, Dan, the charter school issue. Now, you think that the challenges in court, well, we're going to wait and see? No, Amy Coney Barrett's showing her hand. So the problem is there's always a conservative justice or two or three that's going to side on issues that they should not be siding with the liberals on. But that's the problem. It's always the problem. It's a problem with the Republicans. It's a problem with the conservative justices. It's a problem with the process. And how do you fix it? Don't know.
Well, I mean, there's a lot there, Tony, but some of it I disagree with. Thanks for the call. Well, first of all, it's not always. Nothing ever happens. We have majorities and then nothing gets done. We always lose. Somebody always bolts. And that's not true. It's not true. Over the case overturning the Chevron doctrine, that wouldn't have happened without a conservative majority. That is a boon to deregulation. Just to cite one example. There are many. Overturning Roe, anyone? Many. And there were more to come. Particularly, I believe, in the area of religious freedom. That's not to say there aren't disappointments. Yeah, there are. Because there's going to be disagreements. It's okay. It's okay for Rand Paul to disagree. He moved his bipartisan. He was part of that bipartisan resolution. They tried to move in the Senate. It failed. Okay. Well, there you go. There's at least a temporary resolution to that. Trump is pursuing the tariffs in the way that he's going to pursue them. Wouldn't be the way that I do it, but it's the way that he's doing it. Okay. And so now you have to deal with the hand that you're dealt, and that's everybody. So this is where you force choices, and pressure needs to be brought to bear on those who may be more inclined to continue to push the status quo for their very narrow short-term interests as opposed to the bigger and longer-term interests of the country, going back to spending, what I'm talking about. So pressure has to be brought to bear. And Trump and legislative leaders can bring pressure to bear on those who are just looking to gather as much pork as they can and run back and celebrate themselves before their constituents. You don't want to cut Green New Deal related spending or carve outs because somebody or somebody's in your district benefit? Well, wait till you see what we're not going to do for your district and your constituents, if that's what it takes. To all 21 of those Republicans that signed on to this opposition to the Green New Deal should be repealed in toto. Anybody providing any cognitive dissonance, then it's a question of the leadership of the party. And are you the leaders you said you were? Is this the party that you have presented to the public? Is this the same party that you said it would be were you put in charge of the House of Representatives and the Senate and the executive branch? We're going to see. But that's the way you do it. I mean, how do you do it in a free society? You persuade and you pressure. Mm-hmm. Pressure. What did Milton Friedman famously observe? The art of politics is getting the wrong people to do the right thing. pressure. And there should be pressure to deliver on what you promised. I'm sure Trump feels it. And I think it's instinctively his way of doing things anyway, which is good. And now he needs to make sure he spends his political capital wisely to pressure those who are not so instinctively inclined. So let's also not do something that some conservatives do a lot too, even when things are generally going fairly well. Throw up their hands because there's some bumps in the road. There are going to be bumps in the road. We're well positioned if everybody fights like hell, fights in the direction they said they would when they were running. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
More from that Trump cabinet meeting, including the exchange between him and Elon Musk. It was important. Yep. 6:06.
Today we're going to have rain and thunderstorms this morning, followed by some high clouds on a possible passing storm at 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The U.S. and Ukraine make a deal. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It's an agreement to help recoup some of the money the U.S. has spent helping provide military aid to Ukraine to fend off Russia's invasion. It allows for American access to Ukraine's lucrative rare earth minerals. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent signed the deal and tells Fox's Hannity.
It's win-win. It is a way to show that there's no daylight between Ukraine and U.S. as President Trump presses to end this horrible war.
Fox's Doug Luzader reports.
This is the agreement that at one point ran off the rails after that big Oval Office blow-up with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. It got back on track, and while it may be a long way off from the peace deal that President Trump is ultimately hoping for there, it may help lay the groundwork.
Now, a Russian drone strike hit Odessa today, killing 2 people, injuring 15. Russia claims a Ukrainian drone strike killed at least 7 people. That U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal comes as the Trump administration keeps working on trade deals with numerous countries. The president told News Nation,
"We're going to make great deals for America instead of bad. And if I didn't take this hard line, India, as an example, had no interest in negotiating with anybody."
Now, President Trump insists his trade and tariff policies will lead to an economic boom after the slight economic contraction instead of growth in the first quarter of this year. The Democrat President Trump beat in November. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke out last night in San Francisco.
Instead of an administration working to advance America's highest ideals, we are witnessing the wholesale abandonment of those ideals.
A man's in critical condition in Pittsburgh the morning after falling from the crowd at a Pirates game out of the field. A 21-foot drop from the right field bleachers. It delayed the game for about 10 minutes. Players knelt on the field while medical crews responded to him. America's Listen.
Good morning. It's 55 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Ukraine and U.S. have signed a minerals agreement that allows the U.S. to have access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the deal, saying it establishes an economic partnership. The Trump administration says the deal also addresses the $175 billion in aid the U.S. has given Ukraine since the start of the war with Russia. Bessent went on to say that the deal signals to Russia that the White House is committed to a peace process that's centered on a free and prosperous Ukraine. It comes almost 2 months after a White House meeting between Trump and Zelensky derailed talks on the deal. Elon Musk may be stepping away from the Trump administration.
Thank you. It's also an honor to work with your incredible cabinet. I just like to say thank you, everyone, for it's great to work with you.
There's no official announcement that's been made, but Musk made the remarks during a cabinet meeting Wednesday that it was an honor to serve. He touted finding $160 billion of government waste and predicted more accomplishments for the White House moving forward. President Trump's global tariffs may mean fewer toys under the Christmas tree this year. The CEO of the Toy Association told the New York Times earlier this week that because of tariffs, the industry is facing a frozen supply chain that means putting Christmas at risk. On Wednesday, Trump appeared to acknowledge that there may be a toy shortage this year. He told reporters after a cabinet meeting that maybe children will have $2 instead of $30, or maybe $2 will cost a couple of bucks more. Trump has argued that higher tariffs will force manufacturers to produce more goods in the U.S. News is a service of Valdecast Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Goldbert's Farm in Pingree Grove. And Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Fox Valley Coins.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound, about 20 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 16 minutes. Got a crash on the exit ramp. This is a truck that went off into a ditch that's going to be right at Mannheim Road. It's going to be a bit slow due to that. On the outbound side, about 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 20 minutes. This traffic update is delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A bit of rain to start things off today. Clouds, a thunderstorm, and a high today 66. Cloudy thunderstorm in spots tonight, low 48. A couple of brief showers tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy, chilly day on Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams, I am 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A little bit more from that cabinet meeting yesterday.
The 2-hour bonanza, they're calling it.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
Well, that's what the left is saying. I mean, the bonkers 2-hour cabinet meeting that was, went off the rails many times. I mean, they had many ways to describe it, but
how did it go off the rails?
That's what I was saying. I don't know how it went off the rails either.
Okay. So the cabinet meeting, these cabinet meetings, the televised portion are so painful because everybody, when they get their chance to talk, has to be so close. This is why I can never be in one of these positions. Right. I don't think they have to be. It's just their natural instinct because most of them are politicians or political animals. They are so cloying and obsequious. Can you just get to a value add from your agency for the American people? Do you have to say, Mr. President, I just want to, go on a limb here and say, you deserve tremendous credit for this, and you've been heroic in that, and they thought you couldn't do X, and you did X plus then some. Just relax. Everybody trying to be more obsequious than the cabinet secretary that spoke before them. I despise that. It is so treacly. And I don't know who watches that and says, oh, man, this is inspired stuff. Well, now, maybe what they have to say on the substance, that's a different story. But can we just skip all of the pieties already?
Well, don't you think they're doing it because they're celebrating his first 100 days in office? But, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's taxing on the soul because certain networks air it in its entirety. And you're like, can you just go back to regular programming, please?
Okay. Anyway, the one exception to that was the exchange between Musk and Trump. And Trump, thanking him and Musk thanking Trump back. Well, here it is, and then I'll offer why I think this was important, even though there's nothing earth-shattering about what the two exchanged in their comments. Where's Trump Musk? Do we have Trump and Musk?
Here we go. Here it is.
The American people voted for secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. And that's what they've gotten. A tremendous amount has been accomplished in the first 100 days. As everyone has said, it's more than has been accomplished in any administration before, ever, period. This portends very well for what will happen for the rest of the administration. I think this could be the greatest administration since the founding of the country.
Well, we all want to thank you for your help. You really have sacrificed a lot. Been treated very unfairly.
Well, they do like to burn my cars, which is not great. Could be better.
But you have been treated unfairly. But the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you, and this whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done, and we just want to thank you very much. And you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his cars and his.
And everybody claps. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Yeah, it's fine. Elon Musk has companies to run. Understandable. But there's a role that Elon Musk can play, building off the role he played in ushering in Doge and trying to change the spending culture inside the Beltway. It goes back to what I said last hour. We got some recalcitrant Republicans, it sounds like, from the laundry list of examples that Kim Strassel provided in the Journal. Well, who better to be Trump's hatchet man when it comes to these Republican members of Congress who are resistant to get on board making the Doge identified waste, fraud, and abuse obsolete? Who better to be his hatchet man than Musk? I mean, he has great standing in the Republican Party. Everybody has been singing and his praises and defending Doge, as well they should. So it's not just not to mention, Trump can then stay a little bit above the fray and maybe work a little bit more behind the scenes. But Musk would be ideally suited to be his hatchet man. We will pressure you, because that's the difference now, as we've talked about before with Doge, and why I'm more optimistic about spending reductions this go around, because of Musk's personal platform, his personal celebrity and cultural power, in addition to that of his platform, what that translates to in the digital age in terms of potential political impact on, a few members of Congress who will not have the wherewithal to go toe-to-toe with that much political pressure, and then they'll have to make a decision. But they'll be certainly held up as examples to the others. Do you really want to be put in this crucible? He started Trump and Musk, by the way, together. Oh, Trump and Musk, I just can't wait to see when this bromance breaks up and so on and so forth. Hate to break it to you. It doesn't sound like it's breaking up anytime soon. And it's smart for both of them. So now build on it. Don't just issue the report and then it dissipates. That's just another reinventing government commission, another blue ribbon commission, another special select committee. No. Now you've got people engaged and interested and stunned by what is being revealed as they comb through these agencies. So build on it. And if Musk has to spend a little less time in the political arena, then focus his time on making sure to get everybody in line for the president and in support of the work that Doge did and in support of the vision this administration has on tax and spend and deregulation. Because that dovetails nicely actually into Elon Musk's interest, too, to make America more free market oriented than it is currently. Musk is the hatchet man, don't you think? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Interestingly, just as a quick aside, since he brought up his cars being targeted for elimination, that's another whole offshoot of Musk's political power here, is to talk about law and order. First, you had the Hennepin County DA up in Minnesota decline to press charges against a state government employee who committed $20,000 in vandalism.
Yeah, glad he brought his dog along with him, too, every time he keyed a car or did something. I mean, what an idiot.
To half a dozen Teslas.
Yeah, and people should know, well, actually, you know what? Don't realize that Teslas have cameras on them, so they're recording you when you do this.
And then in Kansas City, a district court judge released a young man who allegedly firebombed a Tesla dealership.
Could have
Priya and John, the government wanted Owen McIntyre to spend the time before trial behind bars, but the judge in Boston sided with the defense in this case, which cited multiple medical issues facing the 19-year-old, including autism spectrum disorder, gender dysphoria, and ADHD. McIntyre's attorney argued the teen should be released, citing serious and ongoing medical needs and treatments that could not or would not be provided while in federal detention. The defense filing says McIntyre is being treated for depression and since March has been receiving gender-affirming care. That care would likely be interrupted or terminated in federal custody.
Couldn't have that. Couldn't have the gender-affirming care for the 19-year-old be interrupted. Anyway, so it's just a whole confluence of cultural issues as well as economic ones at which Musk is, if not solely at the center, he is part of that center, isn't he? Yeah, I think I hope, my hope for Trump is that he sees more utility for Musk, even if he's not going to be on the starting team. Sees more utility for him as a utility player for specific missions, like the critical one of passing that tax and spend legislation that is pending. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
You've heard us talk about our campaign this spring with Caring Network. They're a local pro-life organization based in Chicagoland, working to prevent abortions in Illinois by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But they need your help to do that. Illinois has become a destination for so-called abortion tourism. As our neighboring states have restricted abortion, more women are coming here. The number of abortions in Illinois has actually doubled in less than 7 years. Caring Network is committed to reaching the abortion-minded woman, the woman who gets pregnant unexpectedly and is likely to go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion provider to end her pregnancy. Caring Network needs your help to reach her first. You can help by making a one-time donation of $150. That amount makes it possible for Caring Network to reach 5 women who are considering abortion. By reaching women first, they mean providing services like telehealth counseling with a nurse or scheduling an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby on an ultrasound. To learn more and to make a donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
AM 560, The Answer.
Well, we said we'd get to it because it is the 42nd anniversary this year of the rant, one of the great rants in sports history. The technical anniversary was Tuesday.
We were busy for your birthday.
Yeah, right. Yeah, busy celebrating. And then ran out of time yesterday that we referenced it. So now it's Thursday and we're going to do it. Especially now that's, in the infancy of the baseball season, and because the Cubs have gotten off to like a surprisingly mediocre start, these insufferable Cub fans are, have big delusions of grandeur for what could happen in 2025.
This is the year. That's what
they
keeps
do
saying.
Every year.
Yeah.
Lee Elia on the Cub fan. And really, in the 42 years since this rant,
Nothing's changed?
Nothing has changed.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing. I hope we get hotter than just to stuff it up them 3,000 people that show up every day. Because if they're the real Chicago fans, they can kiss my ass right downtown and print it. They're really, really behind you around here. My ass. What the am I supposed to do? Go out there and let my players get destroyed every day and be quiet about it for the nickel-dime people that show up? The mother don't even work. That's why they're out at the game.
Oh, my God.
They want to go out and get a job and find out what it's like to go out there and living. 85% of the world's working. The other 15 come out here. The playground for the rip them like the players. Got guys busting their ass and them people boo. And that's my ass. They talk about the great support that the players get around here. I haven't seen it this year. The name of the game is hit the ball, catch the ball, and get the job done. Right now, we have more losses than we have wins. The changes that have happened in the Cub organization are multifold. All right, they don't show because we're 5-14. And unfortunately, that's the criteria
Oh, my, the guy vacuuming around him.
I know.
Hurry up, to come out to day baseball. The other 85% are earning a living. It'll take more than a 5-13 or 5-14 to destroy the makeup of this club. I'll guarantee you that. There's some pros out there that want to play this game. But you're stuck in a stigma of the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Cardinals and all that sheep. All these mother editorials about say and the Phillyitis and all that it's sickening. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's a disheartening situation we're in right now. 5-14 doesn't negate all that work. Got 143 games left.
Oh, my gosh.
What I'm trying to say is don't rip them guys out there. Rip me. If you want to rip somebody, rip my ass. But don't rip them guys because they're giving everything they can give. But once we hit that groove, it'll flow. And it will flow. The talent's there. I don't know how to make it any clearer to you. I'm frustrated. I'll guarantee I'm frustrated. It'd be different if I walked in this room every day at 8:30 and saw a bunch of guys that didn't give a shit. They give a shit, and it's a tough National League East. It's a tough National League, period.
Yeah, great moment in Cubs history that year, 1982. Or no, 1983, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he delivered that epic rant.
42nd year anniversary. 1983, they did hit their stride.
Yeah.
I guess maybe motivated by Elia, right?
Right, but they were only at that time 5-14. I mean, there's a lot of season left.
Yeah, they hit their stride and they finished 71 and 91. Another great moment in Chicago Cubs history. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. It's 55 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Thousands of protesters are expected to gather in cities across the country to rail against Trump policies. May 1st is Mayday, which is celebrated around the world as International Labor Day. Many call it a communist holiday. In the U.S., Mayday rallies will focus on thousands of federal workers who lost their jobs because of DOGE cuts and other concerns about the Trump administration, including immigration raids and DEI rollbacks. Chicago aldermen are delaying a vote on a proposed new curfew for minors downtown. The Public Safety Committee decided not to vote yesterday after city council members expressed concerns with the controversial curfew ordinance. The proposal would give Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling the ability to suddenly call a curfew in the event of a large teen gathering. The ordinance was in response to a number of teen takeovers that have led to violence in downtown and people actually getting shot. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove. And Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Level 10 Coatings.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Trump International Hotel and Tower Chicago, Suburban Welding and Steel, and by Monarch Technical Recruiting Services.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
FestGen Wealth Partners knows you're feeling the pinch of rising costs of living, and you are not alone. Potentially maximize your savings and get the guidance you need through times of uncertainty with a team at FestGen Wealth Partners. Get started at GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through FestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and FestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. FestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products. Turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 19 minutes, 14 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to Byrne Interchange, it's about 11 minutes outbound. It's about 26 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, crash with a truck that went off the ramp into the ditch. That's going to be inbound on the off-ramp to Mannheim. Again, about 29 minutes. On the outbound side, about 20 minutes. On the Stevenson, this is going to be inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 28 minutes. This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's helps refresh your garden for Mother's Day. Get 3 bags of 1.5 cubic feet Scott's Naturescapes mulch for $10. Lowe's, we help you save. Valid through May 7th. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Starting off with some rain this morning. Cloudy, thunderstorm for the afternoon. A high today at 66. Cloudy tonight, thunderstorm in a couple of different spots, low 48. Brief shower or two tomorrow morning, otherwise clouds, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So at that Trump cabinet meeting yesterday, he was asked about the Canadian election and whether or not he has spoken with the newly minted PM, Mr. Carney, and Trump had this to say.
Are you interested in rebuilding relations with Canada? And if so, how?
No, well, I think we're going to have a great relationship. He called me up yesterday. He said, let's make a deal. You know, he was running for office. They both hated Trump. And it was the one that hated Trump, I think, the least that won. I actually think the conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy. But no, I spoke to him yesterday. Couldn't have been nicer. And I congratulated him. You know, it was a very mixed signal because it's almost even, which makes it very complicated for the country. It's a pretty tight race. But he's a very nice gentleman, and he's going to come to the White House very shortly, within the next week or less.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe Pierre Poilievre was unhappy with Trump because he made winning for conservatives that much more difficult. That may have something to do with it. Carney's a wonderfully nice man. It's interesting because just to refresh recollections, this was part of his victory speech the other night.
Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade, anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and above all, we have to take care of each other.
Yay!
I'm sure
Everybody
Neil
goes
Young
home
was
happy.
singing along to that tune. Okay, all right. Betrayal. Essentially our alignment with the United States is over. Now I understand victory night and overheated rhetoric and things will be different behind closed doors and they'll do the photo ops to make nice. But still, this Carney character is a leftist. So he may be more professional than that grade school drama teacher that used to be their prime minister, but that doesn't mean things are going to go swimmingly. I'll tell you what, though, somebody else who opined post-election in Canada that is perhaps more of an interesting political figure, this Danielle Smith, who is the premier of Alberta. She was much less conciliatory to Mark Carney than was President Trump.
To the new Prime Minister and the Liberal Party, I have one message. Alberta has had enough. Enough with Ottawa trampling over our provincial jurisdiction like Canada's Constitution doesn't exist. Enough with the meaningless virtue signaling climate policies that only make Canadians poorer and threaten our energy security. Enough of their screw the West, we'll take the rest mentality. Enough with their soft on crime policies that let repeat offenders roam the streets on bail. Enough with their unsafe supply, their open border policies, their censorship laws. The list goes on and on.
Can we do? Can we have the Canadians call another election and see how Danielle Smith will do against Carney? Jerry Agar is a Toronto Sun columnist. He's also the host of the Jerry Agar Show on News Talk 1010. That's CFRB in Toronto, and former talk show host in Chicago at WLS, where we met many years ago. Jerry, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you. I would congratulate you on what you did as I was listening there, because you guys have a pretty good understanding of what's going on here in Canada for, American broadcasters.
For a couple of Yankees. So
no, I think that oftentimes for good reason. Oftentimes, American media pays no attention to Canada because why would you? But you guys have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. So
well, we might take you over. So now everyone has piqued their interest about this
problem,
51st
Amy.
state.
Yeah.
See, that was the problem. I don't think the tariffs were the issue. I think we've had tariff issues back and forth between Canada and the United States before, and we've overcome it. You've got even some Republicans now trying to stop Trump with the tariffs. That's going to be a self-correcting problem. It was that 51st state and thing, and it freaked the left out. For people who don't know, this is really a three-party country. It's not a two-party country like the United States. We've got the conservatives, the liberals, and the communists, who were called the National Democratic Party, the NDP. And the NDP so freaked out about that they abandoned their party and their principles and teamed up with the liberals, and that's how the liberals eked out this minority government.
Now, what about what Trump said about Polyev and he hated Trump more than Carney, and the antagonism Trump seemed to have for Polyev right from the start? Did you have any insight on that?
I don't understand why he would say that, because you played a clip there of Mark Carney's attack on the United States, the current administration. He's really talking about Trump and appealing to that base on his victory speech, as you pointed out. That was stronger stuff than I've heard from Polyev. Polyev was just going to stand up to Trump. The problem was that people on the left, including, I think, Mark Carney, sold the idea to the left in this country that Polyev was actually very much like Trump. He'll just sell the country out to Trump. That was what they were saying during the election.
Well, it was so bad. I mean, not only did he lose the election, but he lost his seat in Parliament.
Well, the curious thing is that, people like to talk about how, the conservatives just imploded. They were leading for a while, and then the 51st state thing happened, and Trudeau stepped down, so he wasn't a target anymore, and the conservatives collapsed. They didn't collapse. Their vote total stayed about the same, and they have 26 more members of parliament now than they had before we went into the election. So, yes, it's an interesting thing that Pierre Poilievre lost the seat he'd held for 20 years, but and we'll have to see how they deal with that. But that's not a conservative implosion. It's realistically, to me, the left abandoned the NDP, turned it into a two-party race, and the Liberals went from 22% to 42%.
And the other thing that was observed by John Halpin over at the Liberal Patriot was that Carney did not focus on some of the more incendiary cultural issues, the things that Trudeau liked to carry on about trans rights and these things. Instead, he focused on sort of bread and butter, nationalistic-oriented economic interests, even though that issue matrix didn't change. It's still the same party platform. He still has the same positions, but the emphasis was advantageous.
Well, that's exactly right. And the first number of policies that he announced were actually policies that Pierre Poilievre had been pushing for a number of years. An example, getting rid of the carbon tax. Well, Mark Carney came along and said, well, yes, we're going to get rid of that carbon tax. Anybody in this country who believed that Mark Carney is not a carbon tax enthusiast and won't punish this country by changing from consumer carbon tax to industrial carbon tax, as if that doesn't trickle down to the consumer, is a complete idiot. But, we have a fairly substantial number of complete idiots voting in this country.
Yeah, we're familiar with the concept in Illinois. Ned,
so am I.
You've got a taste of it too.
Well, Mark Carney's a net zero guy. Gosh, if maybe the election would have been a few days later, and Polyev could have made hay out of the power outages in Spain and Portugal, pursuing the same policies that Mark Carney wants to pursue for Canada. Maybe that could have made a difference. But it seems to me that what you're saying is it just became a referendum on Trump, and Polyev was seen as a proxy for Trump.
Well, yes, I really truly believe that was a large part of it. And in fact, there's a former premier of this province, Kathleen Wynne, and she's very, very liberal. She happened to be in the radio station to go on our morning show. She wasn't in to go on my show a couple of weeks ago as we were approaching this thing. And I went over to her before she went on the air, and I said, what is going on with the NDP voters? They're abandoning their party. And she said, Jerry, the left is freaked out about the possibility of a conservative government. They look at it like getting a Trump government, and they will abandon their party. And she was exactly right.
What about this premier of Alberta, this Danielle Smith we played the clip of? She seems to be angling for something bigger than Alberta Premier, the way she has taken on Carney out of the gate, no?
She's very popular with the right, and it's instructive, I guess, how much the left hates her. They really hate her. They think she's a right-wing wingnut. She's actually going to put forth, I think, the possibility of Albertans to vote on a referendum for abandoning Canada and joining the United States. That won't pass, but it's not insignificant that about 25% of Albertans might vote yes for that. And I just saw a chart. I'm going to do this on my show today. I just saw a chart of what young people are doing. Young people were voting Conservative for the first time this time around, and with the possible exception of the small province of New Brunswick, every other province is losing young people. They're all going one place, Alberta.
Well, that's interesting. Really? Do you see the same divide that we see in this country if we're talking about sort of Gen Z? That there's a real divide in terms of young Gen Z men versus Gen Z women in terms of their voting habits?
Yes, but even younger women are tending a little more conservative than they used to. It wouldn't put the conservatives over the top, but young men were polling to vote in much higher numbers than ever conservative, and I think they did. I mean, the thing that prevented the Liberals from getting the majority that they had hoped to get was there were a couple of areas here in Ontario, which is thought of as being very liberal generally in federal elections, where it turned, and that's where the 26 extra members of Parliament came from places like here, and Windsor, by the way, and Windsor, Ontario, where there was a real upset and Conservatives took away a lot of Liberal seats. Well, that's where the car manufacturing is, and that was a tariff thing.
And so how do you see the tariff thing playing out here as there's a sense of urgency, I think, with the Trump administration to negotiate deals and consummate deals with trading partners? And I assume that would include our North American friends in Canada and Mexico. How do you think Carney plays this?
I don't know how you play it with Trump, or maybe remind him that in 2018, when he made the North American Free Trade Agreement, whatever they called it at the time, Trump came out with his usual language. This is the best agreement ever made. Nobody's ever seen a great agreement like this. Now, all of a sudden, he doesn't like it. But I think what I'm hoping will kind of turn it around is I saw 3 stories in American newspapers this morning. Caterpillar, as a large company, saying their sales are down because of the tariffs. They're worried about having to lay people off. Large groups of business people lobbying the White House to stop it with the tariffs, especially with China, but some have mentioned Canada. And the other is that you have Republicans now who are starting to vote with the Democrats to bring down the tariffs. Tariffs are a bad idea for everybody, and I'm just hoping that Trump, if he doesn't catch on, starts to see the lack of support that he has for those tariffs and starts to make deals. And if he wants to make a deal and then come out and crow about how he made this fabulous deal, let him have the credit. Just get rid of the tariffs.
Well, Carney has a risk here too. I mean, if he is too hostile to Trump, particularly in person to his face, then he's going to get the Zelensky treatment, and he's not going to like it, because I assume that Canadian politicians, even a Mark Carney, understand that if this did persist and Trump wanted to ratchet it up against Canada or most any other country, America would do much more damage to Canada than Canada could do to America, even though both countries could be hurt.
Well, sure. And Trump is a thin-skinned individual who, by the way, in case you and your listeners think that I'm coming off as anti-Trump, I would have voted for him, and I think a lot of what he's doing domestically I would be happy about. But with the situation with Canada, I'm not. I'm very upset with him on that 51st state thing, because now I've got another Liberal government to deal with in this country. Carney, though, and you bring up a good point, though, Dan, and a good question, because the thing with Carney is he's very good at appearing to be a gentleman until you disagree with him, in which case he will, and there's video of this, shake his finger in your face and tell you, I'm explaining this to you.
That's not gonna work in the Oval Office. I think we both know that.
So what do we know about Mr. Carney? He's a former central banker. He's 60 years old. Anything else?
Well, he's ultra liberal. He believes, as Dan said, in that net zero thing. He believes the carbon taxes we had, which were hurting this country, were not high enough. He believes, and he wants to spend hundreds of billions of more dollars. Hundreds of billions of dollars, a big figure in the United States, but in a country of 40 million people. I mean, I'm wondering if I have enough money to prop him up.
Yeah, right. Anything else on Polyev, like a local issue that may have been missed or something, a strategic error he made? Because, as I'm watching this guy, sort of like the rise of Milei in Argentina, I'm like, this guy is great. And to have another sort of conservative reform, free market person in the Western Hemisphere like Milei, who's been outstanding, or like Polyev, who I thought could have been, I just want to make sure we're not missing something that we shouldn't.
Well, I like him. He's been on my show a number of times, sometimes on the phone, but he's been in the studio, and I've met him. And by the way, we got him to eat apples while he was on the air.
Good for you.
That famous moment where he just got tired of a reporter and started eating an apple. But I really wish he'd been elected. I think if there was a strategic error that he made, is that one of the things he said, and I agree with him, is our federal government is far too big, but he was going to do it in the kindest way, which is through attrition. He wouldn't just come in and fire people. So he said, for every 3 people who quit, retire, whatever their reason is for moving on, we will hire 2. And so over time, we're going to make it a lower government. Here's the problem. Ottawa is the Washington, D.C. of Canada, and that's where he is. That's his territory. And so he told all these civil servant people voting in his district that he was ready to get rid of them.
Yeah, that could explain losing a seat, if not the national election. Jerry Agar is a Toronto Sun columnist. He's also the host of the eponymous Jerry Agar Show on News Talk 1010 CFRB in Toronto. Jerry, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
You're the best. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit quickdelivery.com. That's quickdelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with quickdelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
All right, listen up. They've been in business. I'm talking about QC Kinetics for over 8 years for a reason, because they're the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. 50,000 satisfied patients. You can be next. People with knee, back pain are now living pain-free. Shoulder, hip pain, gone. This is remarkable. They're using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Folks, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints new life and repairing old tissue. The best part is there are no drugs, there's no surgery, there's no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain holding you back. Doing simple things like getting in and out of your car, walking up the stairs. You can do it pain-free. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to stop procrastinating, and you're going to contact my friends at QC Kinetics and ask for that free consultation. In fact, all the consultations are free, and Saturday appointments available. So if you work Monday through Friday, don't worry. You can come in on a Saturday. They have a number of locations throughout the Chicagoland area. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Dan Proft here. You've heard our partnership with Caring Network over the last several weeks and their Reach Her First initiative. They're making a lot of progress thanks to your support as they're tirelessly working to prevent abortions here in Chicago by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But we still need approximately 40 more one-time donations of $150 to hit our goal. Please consider helping Caring Network of Illinois with your one-time donation of $150 by visiting 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring. Our goal is to help 500 women in total by Mother's Day, and we're so close. These are women who are considering abortion. And we want to provide services like telehealth counseling with a nurse or an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby in an ultrasound. To learn more and make your donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we'll talk to energy expert Mark Mills about how Spain and Portugal did an Icarus impersonation there, flew a little bit too close to the sun. It's a complicated topic because renewables is definitely a part of the conversation, but then there's also the technical aspects of an energy grid. So we'll try to get into the weeds and extract as much as we can that is readily consumable with Mark Mills at 7:07.
And people started to panic in both Spain and Portugal. That was not helpful.
Well, that'll happen when people are stuck in elevators and trains.
And then told to minimize their movements for a while. So we'll start there with Mr. Mills. Today we're going to have rain and thunderstorms this morning. Should be ending by 8 a.m., but we're going to have clouds and thunderstorms this afternoon, a passing shower or two, a high of 66 degrees. And then tomorrow, Friday, a brief morning shower, otherwise mostly cloudy and a high in the mid-60s. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It's been months in the making. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. and Ukraine have signed a deal allowing for American access to Ukraine's lucrative rare earth minerals, a U.S. investment that also recoups some of the cost of all the military aid sent to Ukraine. President Trump tells News Nation that he told Ukraine's President Zelensky when they met in Rome Saturday.
It's a very good thing if we can produce a deal that you sign it, because Russia is much bigger and much stronger. Russia is just chugging forward.
Now, the president's also still working on trade deals with numerous countries he paused tariffs on amid an economic shrinkage instead of growth.
The White House is going to great lengths to defend its trade policy. Among the latest news that the GDP shrank in the first quarter ever so slightly. The president himself defending his trade policies, and many are asking how long these sweeping tariffs may last.
Fox's Mark Meredith.
The White House says its goal is clear-cut to bring more investment into the country, including from companies based in the U.S. It's put out a list of companies pledging to invest more in U.S. operations, from Apple to IBM.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris says what's going on is
the greatest man-made economic crisis in modern presidential history.
Nearly 6 months after losing the election, she also warned of a constitutional crisis if President Trump ignores court orders or Congress carrying out his agenda. While the U.S. keeps holding talks with Iran, trying to rein in its nuclear program, fear to be building weapons, this.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warning Iran it will face consequences over its support for Yemen's Houthi militants who control northern Yemen and have been attacking ships in the Red Sea over what they say is solidarity with the Palestinians. Hegseth writing to Iran on X, "You know very well what the U.S. military is capable of, and you were warned. You will pay the consequence at the time and place of our choosing."
Fox's Lillian Wu. The U.S. has been attacking the Houthis with airstrikes since March. America's listening to.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is talking about the economy and poll numbers following a town hall event with News Nation.
Trump called into a town hall event hosted by Chris Cuomo on Wednesday.
This is what other countries have done to us. We've been the laughing stock and the whipping post. We've been ripped off by every country practically in the world.
The president also said recent polling on its approval ratings were fake polls, where more Democrats were interviewed than members of the GOP. When asked about making a deal with China, Trump said there is a very good chance it will be on the terms of the U.S. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Mayor Johnson is pushing Governor Pritzker and other state leaders for more state funding for Chicago. Mayor Johnson said that he had productive conversations with state leaders, calling his request for additional financial assistance modest.
What we have put forth, we believe, is a reasonable presentation that gets us a step closer to solving the critical issues that we have.
His downstate visit comes as Chicago's facing a projected budget deficit next year of more than $1 billion. Several residents on the south side are protesting a high-rise hotel plan near the Obama Presidential Center. Critics of the proposed building are fearful that they'll be priced out of the neighborhood. Community activists staged a protest Tuesday at the planned site of the 26-story hotel in the 6400 block of South Stony Island Avenue. Demonstrators want the Chicago City Council to vote no on approving the luxury hotel. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove. And Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Goldilocks Doors, Locks, and Security.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-developers of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Virago was formulated to boost your immune system to fight off the viruses that you encounter every day. I made Virago into a liquid formula to improve the absorption and to provide a rapid response for your immune system. Taking Virago every day helps your immune system fight off all types of daily assaults. Go to myvirago.com. That's myvirogo.com and receive 30% off using promo code IMMUNE. And remember, Maha starts with Virago.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirogo.com.
And use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 24 minutes. Going to be slow between Foster Avenue and Montrose. On the outbound side, about 15 minutes. On the inbound side of the Kennedy from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 15 minutes. Outbound, it's about 36 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, an accident. A truck went off the ramp into the ditch. That's going to be near Mannheim. It's going to be about 36 minutes. Outbound, about 31 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 38 minutes. And on the outbound side, 23 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical BPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A bit of rain to start things off today. Clouds, a thunderstorm, and a high today 66. Cloudy thunderstorm in spots tonight, low 48. A couple of brief showers tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy, chilly day on Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So on Monday, just a couple days after Spain was congratulating itself for going full net zero, there was a major blackout, major power outages in Spain and Portugal and parts of France. And, of course, the immediate reaction from the Western press to the power outages, leaving people stranded on trains in the countryside and elevators and darkness descending, it was the immediate reaction from the press corps was, of course, to defend the energy ideologues.
Of course.
For example, Reuters, the Reuters story, don't blame renewables for Spain's power outage. The second sentence of that story,
right,
quoting, the issue appears to be the management of renewables in the modern grid. So, yes, it's not renewable energy, solar and wind in and of themselves, but you have to look at it holistically with respect to the system. And apparently, over a couple of decades, the eco-supremacists have made a series of policy decisions that made the grid increasingly vulnerable for a weather event or some other challenge to the system. Because initially the report was there was some anomalous weather event. Yeah, well, that may well be, but those sorts of contingencies are supposed to be plotted out by engineers to make sure that electricity grids are not compromised by anomalous weather events, for example. And the Wall Street Journal opining on this, the part of the issue is, and we'll get into this with Mark Mills, who has much more expertise than I do, the greater the share of renewables vis-a-vis conventional power plants with synchronous turbines, the less inertia there is to cushion instantaneous load fluctuations in the grid, meaning the system becomes more fragile and there's higher risk of failure, more fragile to something like an anomalous weather event. So you could say it's an anomalous weather event. It wasn't the fact that they're so reliant on renewable energies, but then you have to look at what renewables demand of the grid and how you're managing the component parts of the grid. Spain's near record percentage of solar energy production was accompanied by a smaller amount of wind, neither of which are capable of stabilizing the system if needed. The grid was also running with a low share of turbine-based generation, around 30%. Low inertia meant playing with fire, or more accurately with the sun, given that Spain's policymakers minimize thermal generation. And also, it's worth noting just explicitly, they, like Germany, they moved away from safe and reliable nuclear power as well, because they're ideologues. It's a socialist government. And then the president of Spain comes out and blames private industry somehow. Mm-hmm. Of course they do. Got to redirect. Well, let's get to some expertise on the topic. We're pleased now to be joined by Mark Mills, who is the founder and executive director of the National Center for Energy Analytics. Mark, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
It's good to join you this morning.
So, your perspective on this these power failures in Western Europe.
Well, you did a great job summarizing it. You are an expert.
Well,
good.
Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah.
It's really good. Now, look, this was, the phrase, and it's true in this case, this was predictable and predicted. And apparently the Spanish utility did warn the financial regulators in Spain, words to the effect will damage our reputation because we're walking on the edge of unreliability and major outages. And you put it exactly correctly. It's the fragility of the grid, the stability with which you can keep the lights on. It seems strange because you look at power lines and poles and you think, it looks pretty solid, right? It's just carrying electricity. It's one of the signature accomplishments of the last 1.5 centuries has been creating these grids of astonishingly reliable electric power. Electricity doesn't flow like water. It's a very strange phenomenon, and keeping the system stable, as you put it. Everybody talks in the technical press and popular press about inertia. Of course, it's not. It's a misuse of the phrase. Inertia is like a big ship is more stable than a small ship. I mean, that's inertia, right? It's hard to move and big mass. It's strictly speaking, that's not what it is. It's a better analogy would be that keeping electricity stable is like the kids' game of a cookie sheet with water in it and walking with it without spilling it, and then you're told you have to run. It's hard to do. Right? You can do it, but it's hard. Grids are like that, and what's called non-dispatchable wind and solar. It's not just they don't just have inertia. Is that if you have any hiccups, you can't suddenly call on lots of extra power, and also the power that's so-called stable. Right? This is it has this feature we're calling inertia. Anyway, that's a rephrasing of what you said. The bottom line is that the grid operators, the utilities themselves, the engineers are terrific everywhere in the world, by the way. I've met with many of these utility engineers. They do a spectacular job, despite being ordered politically in many U.S. states and many countries to keep doing things that are antithetical to reliability. And then they warn their overlords that this is hard to do. This was predicted, as I said, by them. It's being predicted, incidentally, by our North American Electric Reliability Corporation, which is job is to look at U.S. grids and point out each year where fragility exists. And the latest report from them has been issuing the same kind of warnings to various parts of the United States that the Spanish utility operator sent to their financial regulators. So we're on the same track here in a number of states, and let's hope the lesson gets learned.
Are we on the same track in those areas for the same reasons that Spain and Portugal were?
Exactly the same reasons, by subsidizing or requiring, we'll call it the overuse of wind and solar. You can use a lot of wind and solar on grids. The amount you can use it varies technically depending on the kind of grid, where it is. It's like anything else in life, right? There's variables. But what you can't do is make it almost all wind and solar and expect it to be reliable. South Australia had a similar outage a number of years ago for the same reason, too much wind. There was a wind lull. The system was not resilient, and instead of accommodating it and bringing it on back up, the whole grid collapsed. And you can add batteries. You'll hear a lot of talk about, we can add batteries. Yes, you can. They help. They help. You can add more control systems, smarter grids. Sure, you can. That helps. And in fact, that's what's been going on. They got the lights on, most of them back on pretty quickly, precisely because this is back to they predicted it, because they knew it could happen soon. So they've been practicing what's called black restart drills, so that when it happened, that they could get the lights back on relatively quickly. And you got to give them credit for a couple of days. I think pretty much everybody's close to back up now, if I remember correctly from last night.
Yeah, but what's to say? I mean, if they don't change the underlying structure of the system, then they're going to be right. They're right back in the same place, right?
Right. They'll just be practicing that drill more often than just exactly. No, I would say if you're a technological optimist, as I am, you could say there are a variety of technology solutions to this. And that is not just more batteries, but smarter grids and more control systems. All that's true. But all of it takes time, a long time, and costs money. And what we know for, as I said, 150 years of grids in the world is that there are ways in which you can keep them reliable. And too much wind and solar is not one of them. This is a relearning of the trifecta of grids. Consumers and businesses expect three things from the grid, because everyone knows why it's important. It should work all the time, which is a really tough standard. It should always be on, because whether it's computers or cell phones or medical equipment, has to always be on. I need enough for growth and it needs to be cheap. And those are the sort of the three sacrosanct things in electric supply. They've all been subsumed to the idol of pushing more wind and solar on grids without regard to damaging all three. And it damages all three of those things.
There was some talk that this could have been a lot worse than it was, and I don't pretend to understand how interconnected the grids are in Western Europe, but that this could have extended beyond Spain and Portugal and part of France just based on the power that was being generated. And I guess something related to the interconnectedness.
Yeah, well, as we go back to the analogies, which are not entirely accurate in the physics, but they're helpful analogies. You think of it as like a rogue wave on the ocean. If it cascades and you don't have a breakwater, or you can't disconnect. If you have these massive disruptions in the grid, loss of power, it's sort of the inverse of like a lightning strike, right? It's this massive disruption. You have to isolate. It flows and echoes down the other transmission lines. The other transmission line operators need to isolate themselves, disconnect from that before it washes overboard into their grid, which they did, by the way, and successfully. But you have to do it very quickly. You don't have a lot of warning. These things happen fast. This is what happened, by the way, almost exactly 60 years ago. The 1965 outage, ironically, that took out all the northeast of the United States, happened long enough ago that pretty much everybody's listening doesn't remember it, wasn't alive. But it was an iconic and searing outage for the electric system, which was considered very modern at the time. And what happened there is that the succeeding parts of the grids were not able to quickly isolate themselves. They didn't move fast enough. And it was what they learned in the forensics, and that took the outage from Chicago to New York. The whole Northeast went black, and it was black, I think, if I recall correctly, for days. And it happened in the summer. It was hot. A lot of bad stuff happens. So it was an epic, tragic outage, and that caused the formation of what we now have, which is a North American Electric Reliability. It's called Council then, now Corporation, which every year monitors, sets standards for reliability. Europe doesn't have that. What they have instead is a European Council. I'll paraphrase it, to push wind and solar on the grids. I mean, that's not its title, but that's what their council is about. I will make a prediction that two things will happen. Politicians, as you pointed out at the outset, will blame the utility, blame the private sector, and then there'll also be a movement to create in Europe something like the U.S., what North America has, which is a reliability council to set standards for reliability. I think the pressure from citizenry who have experienced this and not want to have it happen again will be politically overwhelming.
Well, can you, and I understand just from reading up on this that there was the issue was frequency, which is like the heartbeat of the grid. Yeah. And so if the frequency drops too far, the patient dies. And so, but how can you can set all the standards you want if what you're doing doesn't match the physics, the reality of the physical world and where we are technologically, then you can set all the reliable standards you want and you're not getting the system any more reliable.
Amen. Amen, brother. As they say, you're singing my song. You can wave your pen, but you can't change the laws of physics. So
yeah,
you're absolutely right. So what has to happen is, and that's the problem we have in the United States, and the North American Electric Reliability Corporation not only sets standards that utilities are supposed to meet, but it also puts warnings out. But if politicians override them by the stroke of a pen, then obviously you can have bad things happen. So yes, you're right. The standards then have to be enforced or enforceable in the sense that the actions have to follow, which means you have to do things to keep the grid reliable. Your comment about frequency of the heartbeat of the grid, everybody knows it's called AC power, alternating current. So it alternates at a frequency. Here it's 60 cycles per second. In Europe it's 50, and that's what allows you to transmit power at great distances. By the way, the reason we have alternating current instead of what's called direct current. Your battery produces direct current and DC. But transmitting electricity over long distances is far, far easier. This is a Tesla discovery, not the car, but the guy, a long time ago. And it's a magical thing. It's a neat phenomenology, but it also is difficult to manage. It's the cheapest way, easiest way to put power for very long distances, but it has to be stable. And you're right. If you get a frequency variation that's too far, but it does a number of interesting things. I mean, it makes the grid quote unstable, but it also, because again of the physics of energy, it literally can light things on fire, light transformers on fire, destroy motors, ruin things. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. It's again, if you think about how waves break against the shore, and you just get the right physical conditions, you get really big waves. That's a frequency phenomena. In electricity, if the frequency phenomena, the equivalent of that, gets out of alignment, then the breaking against the shore equivalent is lighting on fire equipment, destroying it. And so that's why frequency stability is important. And if it gets unstable, everything disconnects. You have circuit breakers that trip and things, because you don't want the generator destroyed. What happens is that the discontinuity, if you like, that wave crashing moves both directions. It moves upstream into the power plants, the generating plants. It can ruin the generators. And if that happens, you'll have outages for a long time because you have to replace the generators. So those trip off. So that's what happens, is that you get this disturbance, and it's not that there isn't enough power. It's that the generating plants themselves disconnect in order to prevent themselves from being harmed. And if what's being disconnected it can't restart, it doesn't have what's called black start, or if it doesn't have its own frequency stability, then everything just cascades. But you're right. I mean, let's see. The French are on, if I understand correctly, and there's going to be a lot of forensics on this. The French are on the bubble, as I say, of having it cascade into their country. I think your projection and prediction is right. There'll be a lot of blaming. What will happen is that we'll do technical forensics, and sometime in the coming months, long after the political firestorms died down, there will be a technical report, and it will point out what happened. And you're right when you're set up for our conversation that there'll be some exogenous event. It was probably not a solar event, quote unquote, but the grid couldn't handle it, and it wasn't able to handle it because of how they let the fragility of that grid evolve because of forcing too much wind and solar on the grid. It's fixing it will be expensive, which will, by the way, make a lie of the fact that the sun is free.
Well, let's say that the politicians in Western Europe and in the states that are pursuing the same policies were solutionists instead of socialists, and you were brought in to advise them. What would you do? I mean, what should they do to their grids to change the distribution of power sources or change the infrastructure in some meaningful way? What should they do? What would they do if they were really trying to improve the triad you mentioned in terms of stability and affordability?
I like the construction. I may borrow it with credit. Solutionists instead of socialists.
Yeah, sure.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, free market versus. Well, the government has a role here. So but this is a delicate thing in governance and politics, right? What is the government's role? Is it to say we're smart, we know exactly what the solution is, and you should build more solar or more batteries or or just ordering more combustion turbines? The government solution is to make reliability prime by saying that. How would you do that? Well, you would say that when we are connecting new power plants to a grid, any grid, you have to meet our economic requirements. You put bids out if you like. We'll pay this much for more electricity, but only if it meets this other technical requirement, a reliability requirement, which is typically called dispatchability, which means I can get the power when I need it in these conditions, which of course is the frequency condition, if you like, or a stability condition. And if you do that at one tweak, then that will force the market, the technologists, the solutionists, to come up with solutions. And there are solutions, by the way, for wind and solar to meet those standards, but they're expensive. And then the market will find out as if those solutions from wind and solar are equal to or less or more expensive than adding more gas turbines or coal plants. If you make that prime, that directive, the prime directive in grids is, I need it when I need it, the grid has to stay reliable and cheap. If that's the prime directive, instead of what they've done, the engineers and the innovators and the utilities will meet the challenge and solve the problem. But what will happen is they'll say, oh, no, we didn't have enough wind and batteries, especially enough batteries, so we'll provide incentives and give money away and demand that be more batteries and more smart grids. They'll talk about requiring it to be easier and faster to shed load. In other words, if you lose some power and the thing gets unstable, I want to more quickly turn something off. Your lights, your building, your factory. You're going to hear a lot of that, but the right answer is to create we'll call it the safety standard, and let the market meet that standard the cheapest way possible, which incidentally is more or less what utilities have done for well over a century, until we got derailed by this obsession to avoid burning hydrocarbons, and it is an obsession, and it did derail things.
Mark Mills is the founder and executive director of the National Center for Energy Analytics. Mark, thank you as always. Appreciate your insights.
Good to talk. Have a great day.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
You heard the news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. Even President Trump says it's terrific. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax share owner, call your advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America. This communication is for informational purposes only and shall not be intended to or shall not constitute any offer to buy or sell securities, nor shall there be any sale of securities in any jurisdiction in which such offer, solicitation, or sale would be unlawful.
Speaking of reliability, not just important with electricity, but also with security, not optional when business security is on the line, it's essential. And businesses trust alarm detection systems for the highest level of service and expertise. Think about the time you could be saving using one source for cameras, keycard access, fire and intrusion systems. ADS offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same-day or next-day service upon request because downtime isn't an option, dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms, more than 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time. Trusted by small and large businesses alike, including many Chicagoland schools, their security experts will review your system for free. All you do is go to adsalarm.com to schedule that review today. That's adsalarm.com. Alarm detection systems, the first choice of Chicagoland businesses, including AM 560 The Answer and Salem Media Chicago. Alarm detection systems, adsalarm.com. Alarm license 127000143.
There's a financial article that had this advice about spending money in retirement. Don't touch your Social Security until 70. Don't touch your 401k until 73. Don't touch your Roth IRA until everything else is gone. Okay, so what's missing? Well, you got to eat. Aren't we past the point of our lives when our mommy slaps our hands and says, don't touch that? That's not what you're going to hear when you call Alpha Wealth Group. You've worked hard to get where you are at this point in your life. It's time to enjoy yourself and your money. The complimentary discovery meeting will show you how to grow and protect money, how to reduce taxes, what to do about Social Security, and most importantly, how to build your monthly income so you can have confidence in your retirement and enjoy yourself. Call Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group today at 630-864-6711 and ask for a complimentary discovery visit. You can also visit Alpha Wealth Group at alphawealthgroup.com, or you can call 630-864-6711.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Are they still eating the dogs and the cats and the pets of the people who live there? We're checking in on Springfield, Ohio, to see if they are still afflicted by the influx of people that occurred under the Biden administration. We'll check in at 7:37.
And the white guy whisperer. Tim Walsh explains why he was chosen for VP. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Nikki Whaley.
6 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Vice President J.D. Vance cast a tie-breaking vote to kill the Senate resolution that would have undone President Trump's trade policy. The Senate on Wednesday rejected a resolution that would have revoked Trump's emergency order allowing him to impose global tariffs. The vote was tied 49-49. Senate Majority Leader John Thune then moved to ensure that tariff operations would not be able to challenge Trump's emergency power in a later date, forcing the vice president to appear in the Senate to cast the deciding vote. A Mayday march and rally is scheduled to take place today in Chicago. The event will be held in Union Park and Grant Park with a march throughout the West Loop and Central Business District. There'll be an increased police presence in the area. Mayday's infamous from the Soviet Union embracing it as a way to have workers unite against capitalism. There will be many rallies, many of them against DOGE cutbacks of the federal workers that have lost their jobs, immigration raids, and DEI rollbacks. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. I check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Goldbert's Farm in Pingree Grove, and Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Air Right Heating and Cooling.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoy this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
It's your life, your legacy. Shouldn't it be your choice? For nearly 2 centuries, Catholic Cemetery Chicago has been a haven for families, offering sacred spaces to honor these legacies. Take an active role by pre-planning your final arrangements. Alleviate your loved ones a future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of no interest payments and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 26 minutes, outbound 17 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 20 minutes, outbound 54 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 49 minutes, outbound about 38 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 43 minutes. This report is sponsored by Lear Capital. Our financial system is cracking under pressure. Your retirement is at risk. Take control now. Lear Capital is offering a free sky-high silver report and precious metals IRA guide at betternestegg.com. Don't leave your future to chance. Go to betternestegg.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Starting off with some rain this morning. Cloudy, thunderstorm for the afternoon. A high today at 66. Cloudy tonight. Thunderstorm in a couple of different spots, low 48. Brief shower or two tomorrow morning. Otherwise clouds, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Sing it, Dan.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else.
I can't wait to sing along with him at House of Blues on May 23rd.
People of Springfield, please don't
Because you want the cap card.
Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating
the pets of the people who live there. Kifnis, yes. You know, we had fun with this, of course, and this became sort of a the way the press wanted to handle this, whether or not this was really occurring in Springfield and in other small towns that were overrun by an administration that drop-shipped thousands of people from other countries into their community and said, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't funny.
Nope.
It was not funny to experience it, as we know from talking to folks, and the the gall that persists. I mean, this is how tone deaf and out of touch the Democrats, the open borders crowd specifically is. I'll give you a good example of one. Is there a better one these days than Jasmine Crockett from Dallas?
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here.
Yeah, that's what they did. They threw people from other countries in here. People in Venezuelan prisons were sent here. From mental institutions were sent here.
In Springfield, Ohio, back in the fall, our friend Darvio Morrow reporting on this. 20,000 largely Haitian immigrants into a city of 60,000 people over 3 years, and said, according to Darvio, who's closer to it than me, figure it out. The influx, this is from his piece in Newsweek last fall, the influx of refugees is straining the social safety net, overwhelming medical centers and schools, and raising housing costs as unscrupulous landlords take advantage of Haitians while displacing residents in a city that already has a 22% poverty rate. At the time, Cedis Kelly, Springfield area resident, told Darvio, quoting here, many of the homes have been condemned previously, and now the refugees are living in them. They have no water, sometimes no sanitation system, no heat. They've been seen publicly nude in a local creek bathing. Mm-hmm. The school systems are overloaded. She went on to explain, the first week of school, we had 300 new Haitian students that had never attended school here before. Last year, they were getting about 40 kids per week, and it was costing about $10,000 per student to educate them. Many of the students, Darvio Morrow opined, many of the students can't speak English, which causes issues between them and their teachers, while also costing the district tens of thousands of dollars in new accommodations. And we heard from some area residents about all of these matters. And it's not about Haitians in particular. You drop 20,000 people from a foreign country, and any foreign country, and tell the residents figure it out when the 20,000 people have little to no wherewithal themselves, and you're going to have all the problems that Springfield residents had. And then to complain about it, there was the implication that somehow you were racist, and to further pour salt in the wounds that they inflicted. The aforesaid Cedis Kelly, quoted in that piece, joins us now. Springfield, Ohio area resident, formerly state secretary for the Ohio Federation of Republican Women, and treasurer for the Republican Party of Clark County. Cedis Kelly, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. But actually, you pronounce my name. It's Satis.
Oh, Satis. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Satis
that's okay.
Kelly.
It happens all the time.
I figured. Yeah. All right. Satis Kelly. One of the reasons we reached out is just thinking about smaller communities, particularly in the Midwest. I mean, it wasn't just Springfield, Ohio, of course. It was Charleroi, Pennsylvania. It was Logansport, Indiana. And we wanted Whitewater, Wisconsin. We wanted to just check in and see how things are going under the new administration. I know the focus is on people that are public safety threats, but how things stand with this matter in Springfield.
Well, pretty much the same as it did last fall. People find that surprising, and they're like, oh, but they're self-deporting. We even had a newspaper article that reported how the Haitians are self-deporting.
Yeah, I read that.
But later in the article, you read it, and it says, but the majority are staying in the area. So where are they self-deporting to? Columbus, which is like 40 minutes away.
So no one's
Yeah.
going back
We
to
still-
Haiti. They're just picking other cities in Ohio to live in.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm not even sure that many are self-deporting. We still have the same issues in school. It's springtime, and all the waterfowl returns from the south, and we still don't have any ducks. There are no ducks here. We have Canadian geese, but you go to the park to feed the ducks, take your kid. We still have no ducks because they disappear.
I don't want to ask about the cats and dogs. That seems a little on the nose. But I mean, the larger point is, I mean, first of all, it's understandable. Why would it change? Because many of these individuals are not public safety threats. They may be public safety or public burdens in terms of having to provide services and so forth. But who wants to go back to Haiti, particularly in the condition it's now? So why would anybody expect they would self-deport?
Correct. But, we have a lot of problems with automobile accidents.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman, he's had 5 accidents in the last 2 weeks. And supposedly, if you get a misdemeanor, they automatically send you back. But the problem in Clark County is that our elected officials, as well as anybody can tell that this is their reason, they get money on this. They are making money. They either own a property that's rented to Haitians, or maybe they ran for office and a company that hires Haitians gave generously to their campaign. It's crazy. And we have a new sheriff, who I knew was not going to come forth and remove anybody. He says he hasn't gotten a clear direction on how to handle the situation. So he's just waiting until someone tells him what to do.
Well, let's talk about the rental properties, because I watched a story online. I can't remember what outlet it was, but it showed people, not regular, but original citizens from Springfield being thrown out of their rental properties because they could double, sometimes triple the rent if they rent to Haitians.
That's correct.
And that is true.
Yes. My daughter lived in an apartment complex. She'd been there 10 years. It's separate buildings is how it's kind of set up, and then different apartments in the buildings. She was removed for feeding cats, stray cats. But she'd been there 10 years, never missed her rent. But everybody else in her building were Haitians.
Really?
Yeah.
So I would think this would be bubbling to the surface. I mean, you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, who's running for governor of Ohio. You have J.D. Vance, who's was a senator from Ohio, and it's not just a Springfield, Ohio issue, as I mentioned at the top. But I would think there would be the political pressure that could draw attention to doing something. Making some policy changes that I'm sure Tom Homan would support with respect to how this is being managed in places like Springfield.
You would think. I am in touch on probably a weekly basis. It was a daily basis with the J.D. Vance campaign and his staffers, and I'm also a regular with Vivek Ramaswamy. I actually saw him last evening at a Lincoln Day dinner. They are trying their very level best, but as you see, we have these rogue judges that are trying to return people that have records that have been exported from the country. It's a challenge for them to put any laws in place for any major action to be taken. We need the Senate to write a bill and get these executive orders in place so that they can be carried out. And in the meantime, everybody's just resting on their laurels and still making money. When you go back to the rentals, yes, they rent to the Haitians, but they get money from the federal government towards that rent. It's a subsidy. And then the Haitians pay, and many of the Haitians pay a lot more money, and they have more than one person living in their apartment. So it's easier for them to pay a higher rate than actual citizens.
Are they taking jobs away from Springfield residents, or are they just not working?
We were told in the very beginning we had to bring the Haitians in because there were 20,000 jobs that no one would fill.
Okay.
And everybody's asking, where were these jobs advertised? When were they made available to the public? When were the interviews? The answer to that is they weren't. These people were brought in specifically to work at a lower rate than what they have to pay an American citizen to work in these different factory distribution centers, if you will.
Okay, they're factory and distribution centers.
Well, there were stories about this, and that there are particular individuals that may be, sort of significant landowners and businessmen in some of these smaller communities that were benefiting in particular. That sort of, this is not you're working at the local John Deere plant. This is something that's indigenous to the region, is what some of the stories indicated.
Yes. A lot of local places benefit from the employment, but also some of the major places. We have Gordon Food Services here.
Okay.
We also have Gabe Brothers, which I understand several are working at that facility. But, if the papers were true and people were deporting, jobs would be available. And still, none of these jobs for any of these companies are posted.
But you know that the Haitian immigrants, that at least some of the Haitian immigrants, are working at those businesses.
Oh, yeah. You can sit there, when work lets out, there's white vans that come and pick them up and take them back to wherever they are living at the time. Some of them do drive, but there is transportation for large groups of them that aren't driving. And you can sit there in the morning and watch them get dropped off.
I shouldn't say, is there pushback from the community, from, I would think, maybe depending on the businesses, some of the local unions?
Well, they're non-union positions.
Well, I know, but even more to the point, unions.
Right. I don't know why the unions haven't got involved, but there's a lot of pushback from the citizens still. I don't know if you saw that our mayor has a video where he apologizes for his white privilege.
I saw that.
And and then we've got an event that he was with the Haitians downtown, and again he was apologizing that he didn't know how hard it was for people who are of another race to live. So, we've got a lot of problems with our governance here. That's a big issue.
Yeah, well, that certainly encapsulates it. Is the mayor a beneficiary of the situation at all?
In what way?
Yes. He rents properties to the Haitians. He has rental properties.
He needs his clients. He needs his base to stay.
Well, and he also owns a funeral home. So, yeah, I kind of find that kind of interesting.
Well, do you interact with any of the Haitians? Have you tried to be neighborly and, welcoming?
They're not in a position, they say they are, to be welcoming, but they're not. You go into a store and they stay in groups, 5 or 6 in a group. A lot of times they'll be looking for something and, looking for sugar, and I don't know what they say, and then they get louder. And it's like, I don't know, but sugar's down that way, and you kind of point, it's like, you're not really making an effort for me here. Give me a translator. Show me a picture. You've all got phones. Show me what you're looking for. Try to communicate that way. As far as school goes, I don't know if they're getting more training for the younger kids than they're bringing the English home. I don't know how that's working, but I know there's little to no English classes. But we do have, interestingly enough, we had an older church that is now a Haitian welcoming center that was bought by the Haitian community. I'm not quite sure where they got all that money at, because I'm pretty sure it went for over $1 million. So they're living there. And then May the 3rd, there is a group that's having a fundraiser to raise money for the Haitians. So
I mean, do you think? I mean, you were a Republican Party official.
Yes.
Do you think people in Springfield feel abandoned by their government at every level?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the majority of our commissioners, state reps, senators, mayor, on down the line, they're Republicans. Yeah.
Satisse Kelly, Springfield, Ohio area resident, formerly state secretary for the Ohio Federation of Republican Women and treasurer for the Republican Party of Clark County. Satisse Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll stay in touch and see how things develop as we get a little deeper into the Trump years.
That'll be great. And as soon as they start removing them, I'll let you know.
Oh,
Please do. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
You too. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Air Ride Heating and Cooling, Goldilocks, Doors, Locks, and Security, and by Fox Valley Coins.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, Bill Belichick tries to do some damage control with his girlfriend. We'll do that at 8:08.
Oh, I hope they make it. Today we're going to have showers in the morning, possible this afternoon, high of 66 degrees. It is now 8 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
It helps the U.S. and Ukraine. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what National Security Advisor Mike Waltz just said about the minerals deal that's finally been signed.
This deal is good for the American taxpayer that is recouping the billions of dollars that we've put into supporting Ukraine.
And Waltz also tells Fox this morning
it's good for Ukraine and helping it grow the pie in terms of its development and reconstruction, and it's good for its security.
As the negotiations continue with Ukraine and Russia trying to end the war, still raging with more deadly attacks today. The U.S. is also holding trade talks with numerous countries with tariffs on hold, but those tariffs remain in place in a trade war with China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tells Fox Business they will resolve this.
This is going to be a multi-step process. First, we need to de-escalate, and then over time, we will start focusing on a larger trade deal.
We just got news on the economy showing an 8% increase in first-time unemployment claims last week to 241,000. And the number of Americans continuing to collect jobless benefits surged up 83,000 to 1.91 million, the most since November 2021. A high school lacrosse team's season has been canceled near Syracuse, New York, in a hazing scandal. Some players on the West Hill High team are accused of tricking younger teammates on a trip to McDonald's, saying they were lost, taking them to a wooded area where they were threatened with weapons and told they might be abandoned. Onondaga County DA Bill Fitzpatrick tells Fox.
Some of these geniuses posted this on social media in some misguided effort to impress their friends, and we monitored that sort of thing. And the sheriff's office became aware of that and then notified my office, and we started an investigation.
11 players are charged with unlawful imprisonment. There was drama at a Pirates baseball game last night in Pittsburgh. A fan fell from the right field bleachers down onto the field 21 feet. Medical crews rushed over. Players knelt on the field. He's in critical condition this morning. America's list.
Good morning. It's 57 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump's global tariffs may mean fewer toys under the Christmas tree this year.
The CEO of the Toy Association told the New York Times earlier this week that because of tariffs, the industry is facing a frozen supply chain that's putting Christmas at risk. On Wednesday, Trump appeared to acknowledge there may be a toy shortage this year. He told reporters after a cabinet meeting, quote, maybe the children will have 2 dolls instead of 30 dolls, and maybe the 2 dolls will cost a couple of bucks more. Trump has argued that higher tariffs will force manufacturers to produce more goods in the U.S. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Chicago aldermen are delaying a vote on a proposed new curfew for downtown minors. The Public Safety Committee decided not to vote yesterday after city council members expressed concerns with the controversial curfew ordinance, including Alderwoman Maria Haddon.
This version still concerns me, given the political climate that we're in. I think it is still too broad.
The proposal would give Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling the ability to suddenly call a curfew in the event of a large teen gathering. The ordinance was in response to a number of teen takeovers that led to violence in downtown. Inspectors say that a deadly apartment fire in the Grand Crossing neighborhood was caused by unattended cooking. The blaze started early yesterday morning in the 7100 block of South Rhodes Avenue. An unidentified man who was 32 years old was taken to the hospital where he was later pronounced dead. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
McDonald's sales slumped in recent months. U.S. sales down more than 3%. McDonald's is reporting a mixed quarter, and shares are down more than 1.5%. General Motors is lowering its forecast for the year. GM says it sees tariffs impacting its business by $4 to $5 billion. Beauty giant Estee Lauder says it will lay off as many as 7,000 employees because of weak sales of its products in Asia Georgia. Estee Lauder's earnings slumped in the recent quarter, and it expects sales for this year to be down at least 8%. It's a better story at Hershey. Earnings top forecast, the company's citing strong demand. Microsoft and Meta Platform shares are sharply higher after both tech giants reported a stronger than expected quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Janiko Sola. Invested in you.
Hey, Carl Jackson here for Dennis Prager. While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments along with lectures, celebrity interviews, and his famous Torah teachings and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com, Pragertopia.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 25 minutes. Outbound, 24 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 26 minutes. Outbound, 47 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 53 minutes. Outbound, 42 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 53 minutes. Outbound, 34 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 34 minutes. Outbound, 12 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problem, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A bit of rain to start things off today. Clouds to thunderstorm and a high today 66. Cloudy thunderstorm in spots tonight, low 48. A couple of brief showers tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy, chilly day on Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
Part 2 of the Bill Belichick story, another illustration of why Dan Proft is single. Can you imagine being a football coach with 8 Super Bowl rings, being 73 years old, and having your life run by a 24-year-old chick?
Well, yeah, I can imagine that if she's good looking on the eyes.
Well, you don't need to imagine it because it's happening.
Hey-ho, yes. We're living the dream. We're watching this romance unfold as we move over Prince Williams and Kate and what's his name? Meghan Markle and her man.
So after because it turned out to be a they, did that sit down with CBS Sunday Morning, at which point during the interview when the CBS flunky asked Belichick how the two of them met, Jordan chimed in and said, "We're not talking about that." And really sort of, embarrassed and emasculated Bill Belichick, I would argue. I'm not alone. Well, now I'm guessing here. She has cajoled him into doing what she thinks is damage control, apparently.
Proof that she has kidnapped him, yes.
Or they think. Yeah, because I don't like when Belichick would have exchanges with reporters as a football coach, I don't remember him being compelled or feeling compelled to do any post-conversation damage control, even if things got a bit chippy. But here he has and is. He posted a statement. I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my new book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life in Football. Prior to this interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced, and I repeatedly expressed to the reporter and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, with whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate that point to help refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips make it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met, but we have been open about the fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021, which is true, and what I said when we talked about this last. The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of topics related to my career. Instead, it presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true. And Jordan made me say this. No, he didn't say that last part, but that's the subtext of all of this. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Okay, just so you know, according to TMZ, it wasn't just the one time when she said, we're not talking about this. They said she was completely off the rails to the point where she stormed out of the room and delayed shooting for 30 minutes. And then other times she'd interject herself and just say, we're not talking about this. Or, Bill, you answered that question wrong. Here's the right answer. It was crazy because CBS mornings, like Sunday mornings, it's a nice show. It's not a kind of got you program. It's a way to, relax. And sometimes they do, these nature segments and things like that. So they were kind of taken aback by what she was doing.
Well, between Simon & Schuster and his professional relationship with Jordan, who appears to be one of his handlers, anybody present the thought that, that relationship that you have with Jordan, that's likely to come up in the promotional tour because of the attention it's gotten for all sorts of obvious reasons. So you better be prepared to decide how you want to handle that. And having Jordan interject in the middle of the interview is probably not the right way to do that. So number one, it should have been anticipated. In addition to that, to the extent it went somewhere you didn't want it to go, why do you need Jordan to intervene? I mean, what do you think the optics of that are going to be? Again, Bill Belichick is of sound mind here.
Are we sure?
I think.
Wait, what is it? Like, we need a buddy intervention here. Where's Tom Brady when you need him? Call him up and say, hey, let's go out to, let's go bowling or let's go play poker or go fishing or something.
He was at the Tom Brady roast.
Yeah.
He was there, and he did a little set. It wasn't terrible. It was more personality than I expected, actually. But this is just painful. Oh, and then the third thing, just in terms of the professional relationship and Simon and Schuster and all these heavyweights with him. Oh, and CBS edited the video. They didn't play a 45-minute conversation or the final 8 minutes of the 35-minute conversation was productive. Final 8 minutes doesn't reflect. Okay, so let's say they didn't play the 35-minute interview in its entirety unedited.
No one wants to see that.
Well, of course they edited it. You didn't think that would do you pay attention to Trump's lawsuits at all by any chance? So you didn't understand it was going to be edited. You didn't understand they were going to go to your personal in addition to your professional. Would you expect the CBS Sunday Morning guy to have you run through different defensive schematics? Of course they're going to want to talk about the personal and a high-profile, unusual relationship.
Because he's out on Instagram, too, doing things with her, pretending he's a fisherman and she's a mermaid and all this provocative photos. But just so you know, according to TMZ, Bill Belichick only arrived at the interview with Hudson. No one from his publishing company, Dan, or University of North Carolina, or any reps were with him except for Jordan Hudson.
Well, he doesn't need any. He shouldn't need any. I mean, he's not media savvy. He's been in the public eye for 40 years. What are you talking about? He doesn't need some PR flack from Simon & Schuster, and frankly, he doesn't need Jordan to handle himself with a softball, as you pointed out, sort of a softball lobbing functionary from CBS Sunday Morning, for goodness sakes, without completely embarrassing himself.
At one point the Q&A got so heated, Hudson got up, walked out, wanted Bill Belichick to follow her. It's unclear, TMZ, they can't find out if he agreed. But the blow-up delayed the interview for 30 minutes, and then the reporter said he was spooked by the whole encounter, and he elected to wrap up things quickly and end the awkward experience.
Right. He was traumatized.
No, it was awkward, and it looked awkward, too.
Well, obviously it was awkward.
Stir fire.
I see. The Babylon Bee has a story on this too, but I think they've got it in reverse. The headline is Bill Belichick puts girlfriend in pack and play until practice is over. Sources say
who's putting who in a pack and play.
Belichick decided to set up the playpen after failing to secure childcare for his girlfriend, but was confident that she would be safe playing by herself while he led the UNC Tar Heels through spring practice. That's it, sweetie. You just stay here and play while I go coach the football men, okay? Belichick was heard telling his girlfriend after putting her in the pack and play. I think you jumped it, but I think this may be in reverse in terms of who's being infantilized and who is not.
Well, now we're according to TMZ. I'm sorry, I keep quoting them, but folks at University of North Carolina are concerned about Hudson her influence on him because she goes to all the practices. And they're concerned about his tenure as a head football coach with her, especially taking on the role as his manager. Have you seen her on the sidelines at some of these practices and games? With the white high boots?
They haven't had any games yet, but I've seen her practice. Yeah, I mentioned that.
Dressed to the nines and...
Well, the manager piece of it. I'm sorry, what is her professional background to manage Bill Belichick's career at the age of 73?
I don't know what her...
Okay.
I have to read her LinkedIn page.
I mean,
it's just...
It really is. Like that is seriously, like the women who want to infantilize men, treat him as like some dopey sitcom dad. I don't care what the age difference is or isn't. That's right up there with why the reasons Dan Proft is single. Joe in Arlington Heights. I'm not... Hey, good. Homie, don't play that game if I could borrow from Damon Wayans.
Good morning.
Go ahead, Joe.
I understand that some of the interview tape that didn't make it to publication was when Belichick said the two of them went to Caribbean for a week and they made love almost every night. And the interviewer said, wow, that's quite a feat for your age. And he said, yeah. We almost made love Monday, almost Tuesday.
Okay, all right. Thanks for the call, Joe.
But her performing,
Stick to the
aerobatic
poetry.
stunts on the beach and for the Instagram, and he
is-
just looks so awkward that the old man's on the ground with his legs up.
Of course he did. No, he's having fun. It says
Oh, okay, he's stretching it out
regained
his
his
back.
youthful exuberance. No, I mean, I told you my theory is that she's using this as like a springboard to her own celebrity, and that's really what her end game is here. I mean, that's being cynical, and I know other people just see a couple in love, but that's me. Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, good morning. Let me help out here.
Oh, please.
Belichick knows she's a joke. He's just retiring in place and enjoying this. He's got nothing left to prove. He's got enough money. He's just having fun. This is kind of like the equivalent of, a guy buying a convertible, and he's going to drive it around for a while. Then,
Honey, he got an
he's not
electric
gonna-
car. He didn't get a
he's not gonna
convertible.
miss it. He's going to end up just taking the car and just leaving it at the airport parking lot.
Yeah, I
You're
think
gonna
there's
take a bus.
there's ways to do that in a more dignified manner. I mean,
Well, you're giving him more credit. You like maybe at this point, dignity. He doesn't care anymore.
Well,
It's
clearly.
just like
he doesn't care.
Yeah, I don't.
What
Thanks
does
for
his
the call.
ex-wife think about all this?
I mean, well I'm
Doesn't
sure he
matter
doesn't.
because she's the ex.
I'm sure he does. That's one thing he does not care about, like his wardrobe, and but those are different things. Like your persona. I don't know.
Well, what about his kids? I mean, are they concerned? Dad, hello. How are things going? What's
I don't know.
happening
I didn't
here?
see
Did she
any of them
rearrange
show
his
up.
will? Did she? I mean, Lord knows what she's capable of.
Well, he's not incapacitated.
Okay.
Greg and LaGrange.
Looks like it.
Hey. Amy.
Yes.
Here's why Greg from LaGrange is single now.
No, everybody's
Because
chiming
I'm
in.
a man. Because I'm a man and I don't let a woman run my life. I don't care how she looks. She should not interject herself in my profession. She's on the sideline dressed in nice. You know what I tell her? Go find another hobby while I'm doing my job. That's why I'm still single. You cannot let a woman run your life like this. I don't care if you're doing it for whatever. That's undignified. And as a man, you can never be undignified in a world ever, especially one like this, because you'll get ran over.
Thanks for the call, Greg.
The daughter-in-law is not happy. Stephen Belichick's wife is not pleased. Ron Gronk and Julian Edelman have supported their relationship on this Dudes on Dudes podcast.
That's a real
Well,
surprise.
there we go.
Gronkowski supports it. That's shocking. Yeah. All right, that's probably going to prompt me to pull up those Gronkowski jokes from Tom Brady's roast.
Boy.
Kevin in Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
This is the Prime Minister, Dan.
Oh, the Prime Minister. is
Hey,
here.
you missed Dan's birthday, by the way.
No, I'm calling in this week to celebrate his birthday. And I want to say that based on Belichick, the new math is he can be 1/3 of your age. Ralph from Rantoul is no unleaded fuel. He's exactly right. He's exactly correct. Belichick has nothing to prove. Neither does perspicacious props. You need to manufacture little baby props. If you remember, the Prime Minister tried to get Director Teetle of the Secret Service and you together, but you rebuffed the attempt. We are looking daily for the equivalent of Bill Belichick's little friend here for you, Professor Props.
All right, thank you, PM. Mike and Hammond.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. If you think Belichick's got problems now, wait till he knocks her up. That's what is his head. She wants her hands on his fortune. There's a baby in the near future. I guarantee it.
Mike
Well, maybe
and
he
Hammond.
got a vasectomy. We can only hope. Oh, my God, I can't even believe I care. What's going on with me?
Mike in Littleton, Colorado. The other Mike.
Thank you for taking my call. Sad for him that he's so whipped, and sad for us that they probably both vote. So thank you both.
Thanks, Mike. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Okay. If you want to send your child to a private school but thought you couldn't afford it, guess what? Half Price Schools is back, but it's under a new name. If I can just find it here. Thank you very much for being patient. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. Unfortunately, lawmakers have resisted this trend for private schools. And the solution is to send your child to a private school called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. It's simple. Just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com and tell us which private school you want to send your child to. Then we contact the school on your behalf and work to secure a voucher for half off the first year of tuition, typically saving thousands of dollars for families. Now, this program only applies to new students who are not currently enrolled in the school. So if you've been considering sending your child to a private school and thought that it was financially out of reach, just go to ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com to learn more and start the process today. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local, family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
AM 560, The Answer.
By the way,
Tom also lost $30 million in crypto. Tom, how did you fall for that? I mean, even Gronk was like, me know that not real money. Like, what? You know.
Gronk, I'm happy you could take a break from writing Santa letters to be here today. I knew you were here when we were all out of chocolate milk backstage. By the way, Gronk, that's Kevin Hart sitting next to you. That's not your shadow.
Oh.
You look like the final boss in George Floyd, the video game.
Oh.
Yeah, Gronk endorsing Bill Belichick's relationship. Yeah, couldn't resist.
And his daughter-in-law, by the way, is 36 years old, so that's got to be fun family parties.
Not part of the management team, I suspect.
No.
All right, coming up at 8:38, we'll talk about the return of Kamala and Tim, a second act for Kamala and Tim, and other matters political. Dan Henninger, Wall Street Journal, joins us 8:38.
But now let's check into that newsroom once again. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 57 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. New reports have the U.S. economy heading into uncertainty over the coming months.
The GDP, the sum of the values of goods and services produced, fell 0.3% over the last year. Growth had originally been predicted by economists, but outlooks were revised to negative thanks to reaction to President Trump's global tariffs. A separate report from payroll processor ADP showed job creation slowed to 62,000 positions last month, about half of what economists were expecting. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A Chicago Heights City employee faces child porn charges. Court records say Will County Sheriff's Office arrested Jason Zuris after searching his Beecher home a few weeks ago. He reportedly works as the maintenance director. A South Holland woman's accused of fraudulently receiving COVID-19 relief loans. Attorney General Kwame Raoul says that Jasmine Combs fraudulently submitted applications for economic injury, disaster loans, and PPP loans. Combs faces multiple charges, including theft and forgery. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Goldbert's Farm in Pingree Grove. And Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Quick Delivery Service.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. President Donald Trump just issued an executive order eliminating the use of disparate impact analysis in the use of racial and gender-oriented hiring and benefits. In so doing, he has moved us from an ethos of numerical equity to moral equality. As Heather MacDonald put it, disparate impact has been used to invalidate literacy and numeracy standards for police officers and firemen, cognitive skills and basic knowledge tests for teachers, the use of SATs in college admissions, the use of grades for medical licensing exams, and it has been used to eliminate prosecution for a large range of crimes, among other things. Disparate impact has been used to achieve results, give benefits, and prove racism where no discriminatory intent has been alleged. Trump's order restores true civil rights and is a refreshing fix to the pitting of Americans against one another. In sum, Donald Trump ended the presumption that we are all implicitly biased or a racist country with this order, and this will quell and heal increasing racial and gender-based resentments. I'm Seth Leibson.
Right now, MyPillow is having 2 sales in one. The first is a closeout sale on Percale bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $25. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $25. 11 colors to choose from. When they're gone, they're gone. The second sale is a new energy drink called Rev 7, a premium energy drink that is actually good for you. It tastes great and gives you energy all day. Plus, it has no sugar, no caffeine, so you don't experience those jitters and crashes that we've all been through with the other energy drinks. What makes Rev 7 so special is that it's powered with a premium nootropic that helps fuel your mind and provides the most efficient and cleanest fuel ever. For a limited time, get an introductory 3-pack absolutely free. These amazing offers won't last long, so order now. Just go to mypillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, Sunday mornings at 11, sponsored by Kuhn Capital Partners in Naperville.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 23 minutes, outbound 29 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes, outbound 40 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 54 minutes, outbound 35 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 49 minutes, outbound 33 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Don't postpone better sleep. Shop Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale now. Upgrade to a premium bed from a curated selection and take your rest to the next level. Don't miss out. Visit Mattress Firm today. Get matched sleep at night. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Starting off with some rain this morning. Cloudy, thunderstorm for the afternoon. High today at 66. Cloudy tonight, thunderstorm in a couple of different spots, low 48. Brief shower to tomorrow morning, otherwise clouds, high 64. Sunny to partly cloudy Saturday, the high 54. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There is a clamoring for her voice right now. No one can better prosecute the case while inspiring a call to action than the former vice president.
Who wrote that?
The words of a former Kamala senior advisor.
Oh, okay.
James Freeman in the Wall Street Journal reacting by offering, candidly, as news consumers, we have to be thankful when one quotation can provide so much amusement. Truly.
It was good. I'm still
said. Kamala did reemerge at this gala for an organization called Emerge, which apparently was birthed out of Kamala's 2005 campaign for Senate, I guess. Or no, probably Attorney General back then. Anyway, they tout themselves as the nation's largest network of women elected officials and candidates. And here's how she re-entered the fray.
Hi, I'm Andrea. Hi, everyone. Thank you all. Thank you. And Dougie's here, too.
Oh, your favorite, Dougie. Hi, baby.
Dog Emhoff was in tow.
Woo!
And then she went on to tell us what she's been thinking about. Brace yourselves.
In fact, please allow me, friends, to digress for a moment. Okay.
I got
It's kind of dark in here, but I'm asking for a show of hands. Who saw that video from a couple of weeks ago? The one of the elephants at the San Diego Zoo during the earthquake? Google it if you've not seen it. So that scene has been on my mind. Everybody's asking me what you've been thinking about these days. Well,
that laugh. I mean, we dodged a big bullet with that one.
Pun intended. Kamala also has some commentary on the up-and-comers. You know, she wants to stay with the zeitgeist within the party now that she's an elder stateswoman.
Including congressional leaders like Cory Booker, Chris Van Hollen, Chris Murphy, Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, AOC, and Bernie Sanders.
So basically, the emerging, if I could borrow the name of the organization, the emerging leadership of the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, as Kamala sees it, are all of the professional protesters and the sort of biggest and in some cases dumbest demagogues that they have to offer. Okay. Important words. She has not retreated from the scene, and neither has her running mate. Maybe they can get the band back together again for 28.
Yeah, because Tim Walz was out and about and was, people asked him about why Kamala chose him. Why you over other people? This is the greatest thing ever.
To improve people's lives. But I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this. And you look across those swing states, with the exception of Minnesota, we didn't get enough of those votes.
But you could be giving them.
Yeah.
Tampon Tim's a real man's man, huh?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that he almost had a light bulb go off there. So I was supposed to be the permission structure for, real honky men to vote for Kamala. Except we didn't get enough of those votes in swing states. Well, Tim, what? Somebody who was paying attention to what Tim was saying, and of course nobody was at Harvard where he offered that remark. Well, why do you think that was? Man's man that you are.
It's so racist. Oh, my God.
For more on, both sides of the political divide, Dan Henninger, deputy editorial page editor of the Wall Street Journal, joins us now. Dan, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you guys.
Well, one of the best things that Trump and the Republicans have going for them is the lineup that the Democrats are offering for public consumption right now, wouldn't you say?
I would, indeed, Dan. And I would go so far as to say that the Republicans have lucked out for going on a decade in this respect. I mean, there's no there. Some of us were writing as far back as 2016 when Hillary Clinton was the nominee, that the Democratic Party had not developed a bench at the presidential level. And Democrats themselves would say the same thing. Where are our serious people? And they just didn't come forth. They didn't develop them. There was no one you could name. So you ended up with that primary back then featuring people like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders. And, as we've said many times, Joe Biden became president because party professionals recognized that Bernie Sanders was doing so well in the primaries back then, and they did not think a progressive, a man of the left, could be elected in a general election. So they went with Biden. Okay, we got the Biden presidency. But the coloration, the personality of this party hasn't changed at all. It's still a party of the left. I mean, who's this star duo that they have running around the country now? Bernie and AOC. That's the face of the Democratic Party. That's, to me, Dan, this is one of the big stories of Trump's first 100 days. There's a lot to say about Trump, but one of the big stories is that Democratic Party is in seemingly terminal disarray.
Well, and then the Dems try to pull an all-nighter. I don't know if you saw this, to mark 100 days of Trump.
Yeah.
But Schumer couldn't make it past midnight. And then this is the next morning with his buddies.
Donald Trump's first 100 days can be defined by one big F word. Failure.
I mean, such an old. I mean, and his approval rating's 17% right now, so he's not going to be there much longer. Do you think?
Well, it's always a question. His challenger would be AOC, Ocasio-Cortez. Democrats in New York State are not, believe it or not, complete fools, and they do understand that Schumer has a lot of seniority. AOC would go into the Senate with no seniority whatsoever. I've never understood Chuck Schumer's attraction. He seems to have no charisma whatsoever. But he's been in politics since virtually the day he walked out of Harvard Law School. He has never held a real private job in his entire life. And maybe it is time for him to go. But again, here in New York, there's just no real bench.
And meanwhile, back at the ranch, the supposed sort of activist set, right, the strategist set, is being consumed by a running debate between James Carville and David Hogg. And this is actually the thing that's interesting to me about this is actually like the debate that professional politicos within their ranks want to platform. And that has to me about all of the, and I mean, I'm not trying to advise and counsel them because why would they listen to me? I'm not a fan. But I mean, that has all the attractiveness of the Stop Oligarchy tour with Bernie and AOC.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's striking. This is a party that cannot pull itself away from the left wing. I may have said on this program before, the signal event in the modern Democratic Party's history was George Floyd and everything that came after it. The killing of this one fellow was an awful incident, but the party, not just the party, all of the institutions affiliated with it, from top to bottom, and that included a lot of the private sector, corporations, museums, the defund the police movement, the rise of diversity, equity, and inclusion, completely over-the-top politics that drifted far, far away from the mainstream of the average American voter. But the entire Democratic Party embraced it. Nobody would speak out against it. The astonishing thing is that remains so to this day. Why hasn't there been more effort to move towards the center? And it's because they simply cannot break free of the left grip on the party. I myself personally don't understand it. You would think a party that wanted to get back into the game, get back into the running, would find a way to reset itself. But they're showing themselves incapable of doing that because they're so enthralled to those wild left-wing ideas.
Yeah, it's tough to get out of the identitarian trap when you are just obsessed with identity, and that's where they're at. The other side, marking Trump's first 100 days, the Wall Street Journal editorial certainly gave him mixed marks. You're the deputy editorial page editor there. What's your sort of general assessment of the first 100 days?
Well, I guess I personally would define it in two different ways. One, the first phrase would be the status quo. Trump has certainly shaken up the status quo, and that's what he said he was going to do. And indeed, there were a lot of Americans, and that included Americans many who did not simply count themselves as Trumpians, but people who thought the government, the system of government had bogged down and really needed shaking up. And Trump has certainly done that in the first 100 days. He may have done it with a lot more belligerence than some of us would have preferred. But on the other hand, this was like trying to get a mule to move, and you had to hit it upside the head with a 2x4. And with Elon Musk and the rest of it, that's exactly what he's done. The second word, though, Dan, I would attribute to the first 100 days is simply uncertainty. Uncertainty overlays the entire presidency right now. Uncertainty about tariffs, uncertainty about the direction of foreign policy, whether he's going to pull off a deal with Ukraine and Russia, and certainly uncertainty about a wide array of domestic initiatives. Initiatives that a lot of people certainly support in principle, trying to reduce the size of government, the wokeness and all that. But the fact is, those initiatives are not completed, and their success depends to a great extent on the result of a myriad of court cases that are now open. I believe there are something like more than 70 court cases involving litigation over Trump's executive orders. So, yeah, he's kept his campaign promises, but insofar as that, and he's initiated a lot of policies, but the jury is out on whether he's going to succeed on any of these. And indeed, Dan, he's got to put some numbers on the board by the end of the year. The tariff thing has to be straightened out, or his approval rating is going to keep tripping downward.
Well, the cabinet meeting yesterday, Jamison Greer, the trade rep, talked to, banding about a spreadsheet, talking about dozens of countries that have written offers. So, and he used the term weeks in describing the possible timeline for consummation of some of these deals. So that was somewhat encouraging. Additionally, the announcement by Scott Bessent that they had struck a deal with Ukraine on mineral rights. That's progress, too, because that more tightly aligns Ukraine to the United States and has to be a decent message sender to Putin to be perhaps a more of a good faith actor when it comes to negotiating a truce. So we're starting to see some things that look like movement in the positive direction.
They look like movement. I think the big question mark is indeed the trade deals and the tariffs. Trade deals are very complicated to negotiate at any time, like the one between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. There's a lot of complexity. The idea that the U.S. is going to do this individually with all these countries somewhat boggles the mind. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Trump can pull that off. I have to say, I'll eat my words on this, but I'm a little bit surprised that Trump waded so deeply into the tariff issue without realizing the complexity and problems it could create. I mean, there's so many companies out there treading water, so many companies unwilling to invest capital because they don't know what the future's bringing. And, when Trump announced those tariffs in the Rose Garden, he gave a little speech, a little history of tariffs about how much revenue they were producing in 1885 and how the worst year in American history was 1913 when we shut down the tariffs. It kind of suggested he'd made a study of it. But the execution of these tariffs does not look like it was the result of a lot of study or preparation. They simply have waded in. And this is about the deepest economic water you can get into. And if he actually puts a deal on the table with South Korea or India, that will be great. But, boy, those are big, complicated countries, and negotiating a trade deal with them is really difficult. I think seeing will be believing.
Well, and concurrent with that is the big, beautiful tax and spend structure that needs to get moved along. And your colleague Kim Strassel has been writing with some specificity about recalcitrant Republicans who like their pork barrel projects and aren't willing to reduce spending on things like Green New Deal, where it should be eliminated altogether. We talked about this a bit earlier in the program, and I floated the idea with Musk perhaps tending to his private affairs more so than in the last 100 days. What about Musk, just given his status within Republican ranks, his platform, his own sort of personal cultural importance? Musk as the hatchet man, because of Doge, for Trump when it comes to whipping some of these big spending Republicans into line on Congress?
That's a good question. I don't know how much political heft Elon Musk would be carrying at the moment with members of Congress, especially the Senate. Those senators are about to disappear into negotiations over all aspects of the big, beautiful bill. The most complex are going to be the tax piece. Primarily what they claimed they were going to try to do is extend the 2017 tax cuts. But keep in mind that Trump has added to that the elimination of taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits. To say those three things doesn't sound like much. It just sounds like a proposal. The execution, as I was saying earlier with the trade deals, is extraordinarily complicated. For starters, how do you define tips? How do you define overtime? And the Senate is going to get deeply into that, as they do with any tax bill. And I can't imagine that Elon Musk is going to have much effect on that. I saw, weeks ago, I saw Brett Baer's interview with Musk and his lieutenants, and that was a very impressive group of people. This is not pimply 25-year-olds. These were accomplished people who knew what they were doing. And I think Musk has put that in motion, and those guys should be left to go forth and execute what they were going to try to do to rationalize the bureaucracy. And it does sound as well as though Musk has got some problems to attend to with Tesla.
Dan Henninger, Deputy Editorial Page Editor, Wall Street Journal. Dan, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Great to talk to you guys. Take care.
You too. We'll have you back soon. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
You've heard us talk about our campaign this spring with Caring Network. They're a local pro-life organization based here in Chicagoland, working to prevent abortions in Illinois by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But they need your help to do that. Illinois has unfortunately become a destination for so-called abortion tourism. As our neighboring states have restricted abortion, more women are coming here, and in fact, the number of abortions in Illinois has doubled in less than 7 years. Caring Network is committed to reaching the abortion-minded woman, the woman who gets pregnant unexpectedly and is likely to go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion provider to end her pregnancy. Caring Network needs your help to reach her first. You can help the effort by making a one-time donation of $150. That amount will make it possible for Caring Network to reach 5 women who are considering abortion. They provide services like telehealth counseling with a nurse or scheduling an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby on an ultrasound. To learn more and to make a donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
I've had a number of surgeries, and frankly, I don't have time to rehab a surgery and an operation at this point in my life. I didn't want to take time off my kids' activities.
That's why former college and pro football player Bobby Carpenter turned to QC Kinetics. We couldn't be happier saving our patients like him from operating rooms and long recoveries.
I've been able to resume like normal activity for me, which is a lot of running. It's a lot of workouts. I've been very, very blessed with how it's been able to hold up.
For so long, patients have accepted surgery as the only solution. But with new technologies, the medical professionals at QC Kinetics use regenerative treatments, your body's own biologics, to help heal and restore knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
I actually ran into a friend of mine over at our golf course, and he had his knee done. It felt so well. He'd got his shoulder done. He goes, I can't thank you enough. He'd heard the commercial on the air, and so it's feeling great.
Find out how you can avoid surgery and finally get relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-208-0414, 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414, 800-208-0414, and give us your answer. The preceding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan, we're still on baby watch. They were close to having the baby on your birthday, but she still has contractions, still in the hospital. So we're waiting to hear, and hopefully we'll have some good news tomorrow, okay?
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome. Thanks to George Hoffman, Paul, and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Enjoy the day. Some rain and a high of 66 degrees. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It'll help pay us back. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A new deal with Ukraine signed by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who tells Fox Business.
I think that this is win-win for both sides, and it's very innovative.
It gives the U.S. access to Ukraine's lucrative rare earth minerals after all the money spent on military aid to help Ukraine battle Russia's invasion. Fox's Mark Meredith reports from the White House this is an agreement
that'll give the U.S. a future control of this revenue share that Ukraine is getting from its natural resources. Now, this deal will give the Trump administration a stake in Ukraine's future success as the U.S. continues to seek an end to Russia's war.
Now, the U.S. is warning Iran there could be military consequences for backing the Houthi militants in Yemen who've been targeting an American airstrike since March. This after Houthi attacks on ships in and around the Red Sea disrupting global shipping. The U.S. has also been holding nuclear talks with Iran to prevent them from building weapons. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz tells Fox.
Iran needs to wake up. Iran needs to get the message that it can be a responsible country, that the president of the United States wants peace.
The Trump administration, which has already made changes to transgender policies, including the president's attempt to stop biological men from playing in women's sports, is out with new guidance for children, with an emphasis on behavioral therapy instead of medical treatments. The Deputy White House Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller, just said,
castration surgeries, castration drugs, sterilization treatments of children are barbaric. They violate all sound medical ethics. They are completely unwarranted. They harm children for life.
Now, this is the National Day of Prayer. President Trump will hold an event at the White House next hour. And it's also Mayday, when there are labor protests worldwide. And this year, there's a Trump theme. In Italy, they paraded a puppet of the president around in the streets of Turin. French union leaders condemned what they call the Trumpization of global politics. America's listening.
Forecast.
This afternoon, cloudy with a thunderstorm, high 66. A thunderstorm in spots, otherwise clouds. For tonight, low 48. And a shower or two to start tomorrow, otherwise clouds, high 64. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Goldbert's Farm in Pingree Grove, and Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest, featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Virago Immune Support Supplement.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gabe Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
You heard the news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board.